276, apartment number at 1901 North Beaumont. District 4. District 41. Code 23.
Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache. It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.
And welcome everybody to our Daily Gun Show. We come to you live every weeknight at midnight Eastern and talk about guns for about an hour. And we got just yesterday showing up today, so it's just a private conversation, I think, tonight. See if anybody else shows up. And I was just listening to the scanners, so I don't know if you're a scanner listener, but you can listen to the scanners on the internet without even having to even own one. Just listen to what they're saying out there. But I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to broadcast that, so I'm not gonna. But I'm distracted as I close some windows and things over there. I'm using Broadcastify to do that. So there's a service out there that you can. I got Border Patrol, Fire, and EMS from. Where is that? Let's just say one of the suburbs of Tucson. I don't know where it is necessarily, or at least I don't know what direction to point you in. Then we got one from, it just says repeater, so I don't know what that is, whose it is. There's a Northwest Fire District, so that's another one of the districts probably in the county for fire around here. Then there's another police and sheriff. That's a police and sheriff from one of the towns nearby. I guess that must be in the county or something. And then another one, the same county, and their EMS. And then Tucson Area Rail. So I guess the railroads. That might be interesting maybe to listen to. And then there's Tucson Fire, which says is a stereo feed. The left is dispatch outbound, and the right is fire ground control. Interesting. So they got two things broadcasting on one, like two channels, I guess. That's interesting. And then you got plain old Tucson PD with three different, I guess it's listening to three different bands or the whole town out of one feed, which is kind of neat. So you can listen to probably all kinds of neat stuff. I just have it tuned to Tucson. But if I went to Arizona, I would choose the county, I guess. Oh, here we go. Then you've got natural disaster type of stuff, like a disaster net, hurricane feed, and then Eastern Arizona repeaters for the emergency services. So that's probably what the search and rescue uses. Then you got all these different fire districts in Arizona. Does it even count them? I don't even know. But many, many per county, and our counties are pretty big. So that's pretty much everything on that main page for Arizona. But as you dig into a county, it'll get you all kinds of interesting stuff. So I guess you don't get one. Where are these different counties with live feeds? Oh, okay. There are a couple of counties where you can't get a live feed. That's interesting. So in our county, though, we can get live feeds on all kinds of stuff. Oh, look at this. I didn't know they had a text feed of what's been going on. So it tells you that a fire happened with a vehicle overturned. That was at 22:33. So yesterday? What's today? Today's 30th. So that was yesterday. That's interesting. And then, okay. I think I know what that is. Incident command thing. That used to be a thing I was going to Incident Page Network. That's what it's called. So, neat. That's the evolution of that then. So that's up to the individuals in the network to feed stuff. So that's not an automatic feed, but that's neat. So you get a text feed, basically a page on the internet, like a old-fashioned pager page worth of text. So basically like a tweet, right? Which is basically what, I guess that's what a tweet is. It's just an old pager amount of text. So it's not 100% complete, in other words, but it is interesting because they have things in here like, oh, the current update is that it was the Circle K at this location and not the previous location. So I guess they can make mistakes and then they correct their mistakes, but it also means they're probably not hitting every single thing. Anyhow, so I think that's pretty much the same list I just looked at. So if anybody's interested, it's called Broadcast-ify. I can't put a link in here easy because it's on another computer. But I'm guessing you can just go in there. What I did is I went to Google and I typed in Tucson scanner. So I bet you if you type in whatever your town is in scanner, it'll give you that as a result if there's one in your area. I'm guessing it's probably just somebody with a scanner running or some kind of an electronic scanner running that streams it, just like we're streaming right now. So it looks like a bunch of people. I've been looking to my left this whole time. Looks like a bunch of people are showing up. So yesterday was first one here. Lockjaw showed up. Ozzy, Grim, welcome. New York, Dead Horse. I didn't send out links today, so if anybody wants a link, feel free to jump in. Southpaw and DTP, and I think that's everybody. Duck is a little bit behind, so I might be missing people. I think I'm going to just screen share and leave it up to the room tonight since I don't play by no rules. I was looking around and wondering what you can do to volunteer right now. And there's a couple of sites out there that I guess exist before all this craziness. And when I went to these sites to check out what they recommend for volunteering right now, of course, they've got focus on the situation. So both of them have some options, and I thought I would talk about those as a default, unless somebody wants to talk about what I was going to do before I started digging into this, and what I will be doing after this show, which is digging into who has got the gun rights policy conference awards throughout the years. I was thinking of adding those as sections to the Minuteman University thing. So more like 2A history research or current day, what you can do to volunteer and calm people down. I'm all about calming people down because I'm noticing people are freaking out in different levels. And I think that's what I think we're trying to manage here, right? Is not so much the virus alone as the virus along with everyone's reaction to it and how society's going to manage, right? So it's a challenge for not just us all being the new epidemiologists, but also we get to be social therapists or like societal counselors somehow or something. A bunch of people saying hey to each other. Did you want a link? I can send you out some links. My first night to just sit. Oh, okay, yeah, I'll grab you a link. The scanner app at the Play Store works well. It will search your area. Oh, right on. I didn't think about it on the phone. But here's the thing. Don't be, what's the word? Don't be confined to just the apps because the internet can go down, right? The internet went down for me earlier today. I don't think for any reason other than just random. But obviously I'm thinking, now what do you do? So you can get a scanner. When you go to buy a scanner, well, I think pretty much all scanners are going to scan. I was going to say if you buy a CB, get one that scans. But if you're going to buy a scanner, we could chat about that a little bit. I'm not super expert, but I've certainly bought enough scanners over the years to throw a couple of recommendations out there. But definitely have peace of mind when you have a little box with some batteries in it you can turn on and hear what the fire department's doing and what the police department's doing. For us, what the Border Patrol is doing. Whatever you got in your area, if you got a nuclear place nearby, it'd be cool to hear what they're doing. And you're not going to hear the tactical stuff. You're not going to hear secrets. They can digital burst stuff, and they have those computers, those laptops in their cars. They're digitally bursting information to each other in text, just like we do. You'll never see that stuff you'll never see that stuff. But just to know that they're sending a bunch of pickup trucks out to do something gives you info, or just to know that the fire, they don't burst. It's not like private when they send out the fire trucks and stuff like that. And most of the police stuff I've been listening to they're not hiding anything. They'll hide, tactical operations, I'm sure. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to open up email and talk and type all at the same time. So let me grab the link to this show and I'll throw some links out there. It'll be a poorly written email. It'll just say TGS question mark. And then it'll say join question mark. And then it'll have a link. Yep. And which people to invite. Anybody else out there that wants a link? So, talk and type at the same time. Link working tonight? She's sitting around. All right, well, I think, oh, he doesn't have a mic, he said, so. Some people are traveling, that's good to hear. I'm hitting the send button, and I think I did it so that everybody doesn't get everybody else's emails. And then I'll get back to concentrating on what we're doing here. Let's see, the scanner radio app, yep. And then what everyone needs to do right now is stockpile some water and have some gas on hand. Well, gasoline for like a generator, or are you talking like for a vehicle? I think most people don't have anywhere to go. That's fallacy. If it was like a bad storm and you could book out to your friend's house in the next state over and you had a place to go or you had enough funds to get a hotel room. But this isn't the kind of thing you book away from when the virus is everywhere and where you're going is going to be under the same scarcity. This doesn't seem like a situation to boogie. And since they are basically going to tell everybody to sit around for a month, I don't know about what gas is going to do for you. Let's see, the Mobile Patrol app will search your jails. If you take a peek, they have photos and info. The Mobile Patrol app will search your jails. If you take a peek, they have photos and info. They normally run about a week behind. Oh, you mean like they'll show you the mug shots or something? Back in the day, you could go to, wasn't the post office, was it? You could go somewhere and look at mug shots, and I thought it was cool as hell when I first figured it out. And then I was like, why do I care about this? And I quit paying attention. Is your mic working? My mic working? I'm assuming it is.
Yep, I can hear you.
Well, what were you meaning with the gas part of that?
For mainly a generator, but it doesn't hurt to have an extra 5 gallons on hand for your car and put a little stable in it or something. And then after it sits, if you don't use it after a month or two, then you pour it in your gas tank and fill it again. And you know what I mean? But having an extra 5 gallons of gas in case something bad happened, like an ultimate bug out thing, like, you know, I'm not even talking about the current thing, just even something like a major earthquake or
let me ask it this way. First, you got to have like a vehicle. Like I would want to put some kind of rack on the back door, or in a pickup, it's no big deal. But you know, you'd have to have a place to put a 5 gallon thing of gas, because I wouldn't want to put that inside my car, in the trunk or nothing like that.
Well, I'm just saying, in the situation where you're leaving and taking that with you, I don't think you're going to care. You know what I mean? It's going to be a bad day probably anyway, right? Like,
Well, at the same time, if you put it on the outside, that's asking for trouble because somebody's going to steal it or fight you for it. So I guess that would be kind of dumb.
and think about, have you ever seen, like, in a panic place, like all the gas stations lines like miles down the road for gas and all that?
I've been through that when I went on the trip to go see the castle. That trip in 2017 started out with a hurricane in Houston. So Edge is like, hey, come on over to San Antonio before you head up. And I was like, okay, I got to go one way or the other. So didn't add that much to whatever time. So I head down I-10 to San Antonio, and I didn't even get all the way to San Antonio, and there was already scarcity. By the time I got to San Antonio, you had to use those phone apps to figure out which gas stations even had gas, let alone prices.
Gas stations dry up fast, and even if it's a rush panic thing, like right after an earthquake, there's lines miles long for gas and all sorts of stuff, and there has to be electricity for them to pump the gas. That's true. There's all sorts of things. And I don't know about you, I don't like to let my cars go down below a quarter of a tank because of the hole. It's bad for the fuel pump thing. But realistically, we should be trying to keep our cars up around like 3/4 of a tank, and then even have an extra 5 gallons of gas.
I grew up where it's cold, so we never let our tanks go below 3/4 because of condensation. So yeah, I'm more like my tanks are always full, but And I get all worried when they're not. When I don't like parking a vehicle without a full tank in it. Like if I'm driving around doing stuff, I don't care. But as soon as I'm leaving it for any length of time, it's got to have a full tank in it. But I don't disagree with you. Having 5 gallons, it gets you five. What is 5 gallons for most people realistically?
Well,
like almost 100
most
gallons.
cars nowadays are 20 to 30 miles, I'd say, per
Yeah,
gallon.
so you're talking like almost another 100 miles past where everybody else would have to stop,
Yeah.
or just be able to choose which gas station you're going to stop at, which would be. But here's what I'm saying: for now, and in most situations, bugging out isn't really a thing. Now, who cares if you're actually leaving? Because leaving isn't, like I say, probably the
Well,
biggest
let's
thing.
talk about the generator thing then. The
Well,
other
no,
reason for the gas.
even just having it, that means that if you need to just go to the store, you don't got to go to the gas station also. At some point there, you got another 100 miles worth of not having to go to the gas station until it's all over. So I'm not.
Or more, yeah. Or if you have a little car like mine that gets 40.
Or a
miles
moped
per gallon.
that gets 1 billion, yeah.
Or
so I'm
yeah,
not
like
saying
100
it's not a
miles,
bad
yeah.
idea. Here's my thing though. I just was going to say also, do you need to put stable in for a month? I thought stable was like for a season. So I would think if you were just
well,
had
no,
an
I'm saying like
tank
it
and
would
you kept
depend on
it,
how long you let it sit, right? Like if you're, you could let it sit, I would say 2 or 3 months before I'd recycle it, but just a little cap full of stable. And then, and usually you have that sitting out in your garage or something in cold weather and I don't know, just I get that stable for my motorcycles and stuff and my little scooter, and so it's easy for me just to put a little cap full in a 5-gallon thing and not worry about it. Because in a thing like you might want to stretch that out, like in a crisis thing, right? And if there's a gas shortage, you might want to stretch that out from.
is that something that rip off that people are paying for the pony, where it's really just like kerosene or something? Or is it really some chemical that you can't
I think it just has some oil in it and it kind of coats everything in an oil, like a real light film of oil inside the tank and everything keeps it from rusting.
That's what I thought.
I think
It's just to keep the tank itself, the gas can from rusting into the gas more than to keep the gas from doing anything, right? Like if you put your gas
I think
in
it keeps water out. I think it's I think it does like bind to water molecules or something and keeps the water and keeps your gas from getting watered down from condensation and moisture and stuff. So,
But anyway, I don't think it's a bad idea to have like a 5-gallon or even have 3 or 4 or 5 gallons. If you got a shed that you can put it in and not have a risk of fire, and you can just take one of those on some kind of once a month, you take one in, when you're empty, you pour it into your car, you fill it, and you drive it home and put it in the shed, right? And then the next month, at some point, you take the next thing out, you take it to the thing, you pour it into your car, you fill it up, you take it home and put it in the thing, right? It would be that easy.
Yeah.
You would have 3 things full. And if you, a little tiny car or a motorcycle, you could have one of those, yeah, and it would be multiple. You could have like a whole tank of gas in there.
Well, even depending on where you were going and stuff, like like just to the store, just to the closest hunting spot or wherever. Even if you had a truck or a van that didn't get very good gas mileage, that could still be 50 miles, which might be 5 trips out to where you go hunt deer or 5 trips to the store. So that could be 5 months. That could be like 5 months worth of gas.
In some place like Wyoming, maybe, but I don't even think so. But like, I don't even think where you're at. You got the same situation we got, where there's more town than there is actual woods. But all this like fantasy about hunting is fantasy. Like everybody's going to go out and shoot a deer. There'll be 1 billion times. It's like 100 times more impact than any hunting season ever happened. And then everybody goes out and shoots a second deer, and we never see deer again in this. Like we'll eradicate deer so fast it would take like 3 days, I bet. And then you get 1 or 2 bad apples that just take out a herd, and we'd have like
there's way too much wilderness that's too vast.
In some places
that they'd have to get back into.
Though, like in Iowa and Kansas and Texas, like no way. Like in Montana, yeah. Like in South Dakota, nah. Maybe, I guess. Some of these places where it's super vast, yes. But I'm just saying, like in Arizona, there's a lot of land out here, but the critters all live on the mountain peaks, and there's too many people in Phoenix and Tucson. We'd kill the animals here in 1 evening. Like if everybody went out and hunted one day, there would be no more deers in Arizona, no more elks in Arizona, no more anything in Arizona. There might be rabbits after all that. But it just takes things a whole year to breed, and there's no way that they, with as many people as would have the inclination to go up and eat dinner, I don't think we'd see hunting last very long at all.
Well, I think it's still a viable option. Like there's other things too. There's small games, and I don't think everyone can hunt or is a hunter or would even
Just
think
people that
about.
are and can would
Yeah.
wail on our deers. Everything big. No, you're right. Rabbits and crows and little stuff, that's always going to live because there's always going to be food for that stuff. And once the predators get taken out, because everybody will eat or kill the predators too, then we'll have tons of rabbits and rats and shit like that to eat.
Yep, and pigeons and just there's all sorts of birds and just yeah.
But I don't think it'll get anywhere near that.
But
So let's
I don't think there's that many hunters. I think that I don't even think it's like something like the 70s or 80s or I think now all those guys
now,
are old.
there's not enough population of critters to the number of like as efficient as hunters are now. No hunter's going to be unsuccessful like anymore. I don't know if they ever were, but you know what I mean, like there's just anyway. I don't think it's getting there. I don't really. That's not my goal. Is to dwell on fantasy outcomes that don't even matter. Because if it gets to that, we'll never know. Because we'll even come back from all that. Like if it gets to where we're talking about the extinction of game mammals in the continent, that's more than just whatever an epidemic that everybody bounces back from. But assuming that it is an epidemic that everybody bounces back from, and the world takes a knee and coughs for a minute, and then gets better, and then figures out what life goes on, and we keep going. I'd rather focus on that eventuality and talk about potentially volunteering. And you talked a little bit about it in your Instagrams as you share your adventures over there or up there. But and you're one that I know that has more experience, and in general, you volunteer more than others that I've talked to. Have you ever heard of this thing called helpguide.org or volunteermatch.org?
No, I have not.
I haven't either. I just, like I say, I started looking at the stuff today, and I skimmed this one, and it seemed kind of interesting. It took me to this dealing with anxiety type of thing, and I thought that was worth checking out, but I really didn't check out the rest. I think in normal times, it's designed to be like it says, a trusted guide to mental health and wellness. So I don't know how it sent me there from a volunteer thing, but it did. And then this one, volunteermatch.org, I think in normal times in the before, it would have been like you bring your skills and what you kind of want to bring to the table, and then it helps match you up with what's necessary. So this one I thought was neat. They do have something about all this stuff, and I didn't click on that, but I saw this virtual volunteering, and I clicked on that. And it looks like they've got 700,000 needs for people to help out with stuff. And as I started to just scroll through here a little bit before the show, like it's kind of neat, like translating and computer tutorials and stuff. I never thought about it, but some people organizing, or I guess I have thought about it, but I didn't know that it was to this extent. But people organizing both needs and skill sets so that it can be matched up, sort of like what Fiverr does, or sort of like LinkedIn, I guess, does in a way, right? Somebody can say what they're looking for, like a job posting, and somebody can say what they're able to do, like a resume. And both people, how ambitious they are or how they have time, can jump back in and help out again, see if it's something, a small job, a big job. There's all kinds of different characteristics to them, who they focus on or what kind of help is needed. I just thought that was kind of neat that there are people out there or systems in place already that are now able to tweak and allow people to both get help, which is always good, but also let people who are stir crazy potentially, or wasting their time potentially, spend their skill sets helping people and making this whole thing end quicker, right? I mean, it seems like win-win-win. Am I just preaching, or what do you think? We're digging into this stuff, or is it boring?
I don't know if so there's certain jobs right now in states that are considered essential, right? That you can that where you can still work. And then there's certain jobs where they deem non-essential in certain states where they won't let you work at all. So how is volunteer status compared to like employment status? Are they still saying like, oh, certain volunteers that do this or that, like, will take you, or is it just like all volunteers no, or what?
And that's exactly what I was going through my head, because basically there's nothing you can do. I want to go do something, but there's nothing to even do, right? And you're supposed to go out and do nothing, but exactly, like, unless you got to work, then you're allowed to go do stuff, or unless you got a, it's a job that you can't quit, then you got to go do stuff or come up with some excuse. So I'm thinking, I'm still kicking. What can I help with? And that's where I started figuring out, like, trying to go to Tucson. Everything in Tucson is local. So by the time I started looking at like 7 p.m., it was all closed for the day. I'll have to start during business hours tomorrow for the local stuff. But when I started looking nationally, if there was like, what's it called? Like the United Way or somebody maybe has like something like this. I only, it's not like I spent a ton of time. I started looking like half an hour ago. I started setting up the show. But yeah, I don't know. That's sort of what I was thinking. If you have a job like a grocery store or a gun shop or something, you're allowed to go to work. And I really don't think, unless it gets really bad, that there's gonna, got the hiccups. Sorry, I don't think it's gonna get to where cops are stopping every single person or there's roadblocks or something. At this point, it's probably just if you're out farting around with 6 people in the car acting all rowdy, you're gonna get in trouble compared to, on a Wednesday. Nobody cares if you got 6 people in your car, in the before times. But do you really think they're going to start stopping, and seeing your papers for everything? But anyway, so that's what I was thinking so there's got to be people that are not volunteering because they're concerned, or they're in a situation with old people or kids or something where it's not appropriate to volunteer anymore. Now it's dangerous to your other people. And I can understand that. You're going to make that decision to stop volunteering. You could have somebody who's literally sick and they should not volunteer anymore because it's not, it would not be appropriate for them to volunteer even though they'd like to or they could. And then there's got to be some people that are still volunteering and still doing stuff. And that's where I figured maybe I can help out. I know that Walmarts and shit need help, but I honestly don't give a shit if Walmart need help. So, I mean, I could use a couple of bucks for sure, but I'd rather spend whatever. If I'm going to die during a virus, I'd rather spend the last amount of time I got with my muscles helping somebody else than helping Walmart or something. So I started digging into, if they're going to lock it down to where we need papers to travel, then how do I get in with something where I can actually start helping? Because there's a thing out here, blab a little bit. There's a thing out here with vegetables where I'm guessing the vegetables aren't going to make it long term across country. They basically give those away for just a couple of dollars, big giant things of vegetables, and so mostly low income poor people go pick that up, right? Because their vegetables are about to spoil. You really got to use them right away, but they're fresh vegetables and they're freaking delicious. Normally you go there and you pay like $2 or $6 or whatever, nothing. It's really nothing. And then you just get these boxes and you kind of wander and you kind of pick out what you want. And at the end, you take it all back to your car and you drive away. Now they're kind of picking out all the stuff for you and you just drive up and they hand it to you. So there's people that depend on that. That's like free food basically. And it's a shit ton. It's good food. It's real food. And they're not allowed to just go there and hang out like they used to. And normally there's a ton of volunteers. It's kind of a cool thing. A lot of kids like to hang out there and volunteer. People bring their families, probably scout kids or civic organizations, church groups, man the thing normally. But of course, those people are all going to, and again, rightfully so, hold back on their time. So I was thinking maybe I could go there and I can lug vegetables back and forth to a van for somebody, right? And I was like, how do you volunteer for something like that? Do you have to go to each organization separately and say, hey, do you need help? Or is there some clearinghouse or something like, say, like a United Way? Anyway, so that's what started me thinking this is how do the volunteers get out? Are they considered necessary? They must be, right?
I don't know. What if it's a liability because they're not employed, so they're not covered by insurance, and they go volunteer somewhere, and they get someone sick or they get sick themselves? Could there be like liability there and all that? I could see a lot of companies being like, no, unless you're employed under our insurance, like don't even come in our business or don't even. I don't know.
I guess so. That's probably a thing. New York is saying that local police in New York are stopping anyone they want to check what you're doing after 10 p.m. They give $1,000 fines to people. I'm assuming. Oh, you did mean messing around. As I say, massing is kind of the same thing, right? If you get into groups of more than 10 or whatever. But I think here pretty much everything closes at 8 or something. So it's hardly any point going out after 8 unless you're going somewhere or something. But so I don't know if they stop people. I don't think they do. $1,000 fine though. That's a lot.
I don't know if you've been in a store that actually had a line, right? And I don't know if you've actually noticed like how people used to stand in line and how close and all that. I shit you not, 10 feet spaces between each person, like in line,
Mhm.
right? So like a line of 7 people is now as long as like a line of 20 people. like, like
What they're doing here is I don't go to the Walmarts for the most part, at least lately, right? So you go to the Walmart and you're an employee, like you have to check out your own stuff anyway. Like they don't even give you an option. There's only like 2 registers for regular, like old fashioned type, like they actually the employees. And now it's like 80% of the registers are you're the employee. So there's like a line to get into there and they'll just run it down the aisles. So like the line goes down next to the frozen pizzas, so it's like you're saying every 6-10 feet or whatever, but instead of just like 3 people standing there, it goes like halfway down the pizza aisle now. But it goes pretty quick because everybody's like been trained by Walmart how to check out your own groceries now, so we're all good at it, except for like the little old lady once in a while or somebody that's like, can I write a check? How do I write a check and have it in here? Oh, here they won't let you buy non-essential items at the stores that are open. That's weird. So where is here? Wonder what they're calling
what do you mean? Like what? Like a T-shirt or like they won't let you
Yeah,
buy
like
like
they want to
what?
buy some batteries or a light or like I went to go buy a sewing machine because my sewing machine's about to die. I'm limping and I'm like, well, I'll sew some shit. And then like there's a run on sewing machines, so there's no sewing machines. But what if I wanted to just go buy a freaking sewing machine? I guess that it must be essential because it's gone. And he's saying, why you're at the store anyway? Exactly. I guess it's to probably get people to not go to the store, right? Like, oh, don't just go here and buy freaking model paint or whatever. Deal without it.
Hey, I know a way you can help. I know a way that we can all volunteer right now.
How's that?
That would be really good. So if you have any extra nitrile or latex gloves or masks, maybe hand them out to your postal worker, mailman, UPS guy, Amazon guy,
You
FedEx
could
guy.
leave them in your mailbox. Leave them on
Leave
the.
them leave them in your mailbox, whatever, and you know, in a factory sealed bag or whatever, and they'll be giving them none of your used crap. And but that's a way. I thought of that earlier today, and I went in and I found a package of brand new disposable nitrile gloves. I don't have any of the extra masks, but I'm definitely going to give them this pack of nitrile gloves. And yeah, I was literally just thinking about leaving it in my mailbox. Because I usually like a lot of times if I'm home and I hear the mailman pull up and all that, I'm like walking out there to greet him, and he'll hand you the mail and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I think that might be a good way to help right now because those are people who are still working, handling a lot of stuff that a lot of other people have handled from all over.
Probably, I don't know. We'll see. They could potentially shut all that down, but then I don't want to get all doom and gloom because it's not all doom and gloom. There's all kinds of stories. At least if you listen to the right channels on the radio, there's all kinds of stories about things working together that are potential. Some guy with 600 patients, and there's still 600 patients, not one lost, using something. So as they've lessened or lightened the trial, whatever restrictions on trials on humans or something, like, so that people can basically try some stuff that they think. Here's a neat thing. They got that IBM. So there's a supercomputer. We have a supercomputer. that is kind of neat. They talked about the definition of it or anything. Anyway, so they can take the parameters of stuff and zap it in a supercomputer against like all kinds of potentialities. So what used to take, a while with regular computers, or what would take a while for each case on a regular computer, can all be done simultaneously in like a day or whatever on the supercomputer. So they've got all kinds of stuff that they're whaling on, and they're figuring out not so much like a cure, like you plug it in, you get a cure, but they can eliminate all kinds of stuff. So the stuff that does take a while that they need to figure out, they can eliminate, like, don't bother with all this. Don't bother with all this. It's probably not over here. It's probably not over there. So there's some of that I guess is unprecedented. Like they talked about the where the CDC came from and how the Army engineers, who are they? Whoever is in the Army, I can't think of who would be. It must be something medical. But anyway, there's a part of the Army that's job is to come in and work on epidemiology. Is it the CID?
A lot of the Army and a lot of the, I guess, maybe like non-essential Army right now is completely shut down. So they're not doing their weekend warrior thing at all. The 1 weekend a month, they're not, like, that's completely stopped right now.
Well, that's interesting. That'll just depend on the unit. I mean, if it's a unit whose job is like missile defense, yeah.
But I said like non-essential. Like
okay. Because I was gonna say otherwise they're getting probably called in. That's what they're for. But yeah, I could definitely see
just
that.
all the regular like I said, like engineers and stuff like that. They're not going into their monthly thing and all that right now. They canceled all that. AIT school might be canceled. So they're definitely so some parts of the military have definitely shut down.
Where's Pomade at? Did you say? Oh, Indiana. Interesting. But so you're saying that you were saying before that you couldn't just go in there and buy non-essentials, and people have been asking, and then like you can't go in there and buy a TV or DVD, but you could buy first aid or food or whatever, and then you could buy a radio or batteries or whatever, but no leisure shopping. And then he said,
"Did you read what Amazon's doing with non-essential products?
Priority shipping or whatever, where like we'll ship your stuff eventually, but we're shipping priority stuff first."
Well, no, even their stocking, like replenishing, they're not ordering like regular, like replenishing like regular stock items right now to make room on shelves and warehouses for essential items. So like if there was a reloading part or just electronic part or something, that's out of stock right now, like it might not come in stock for a long time because I guess they canceled all their restocking of just regular stuff.
Okay, so I heard like let's say something that I have, like a card. I don't really do it, but if I wanted to put the decks of cards on Amazon, I could ship them like 25 decks of cards, and then they would put them on a warehouse shelf, probably in 3 or 4 different parts of the country. And then whenever one sold, they would take care of it, and they would just give me a cut instead of giving me whatever. They're definitely put all that stuff on hold. Like anybody who owns that stuff, they're not charging you, because normally they charge you rent for those shelf spaces because costs them money to put a shelf space somewhere. But normally they're cutting all those rates. They don't charge you for the shelf space. If I understand it correctly, I don't really do it anymore. But then they're also not selling any of your stuff. Like people can buy it all day and night, but it won't get shipped until after this, whatever. And that's probably a whole bunch of the non-essential stuff right there. Because that's just like, I found this book at the store and I put it on Amazon, or I found this set of shoes at the store. I put it on Amazon.
Some stuff on Amazon right now that's normally like the 2-day delivery, it'll be telling me a week out or even in May, and there's some things I've ordered that were supposed to be like 2 or 3 days out, even when I ordered it. And then the shipping all got updated after I paid for it and everything. The order gets updated and it's like, oh, we extended your delivery time 2 to 3 weeks out. So
what's really cool about these things is that it's going to be an experience for us as individuals to experience this the first time, but it's also an experience for the AIs that run all this stuff to experience all this for the first time. And I don't know what their capacities are, what their scopes are, but the humans that program the AIs are certainly thinking about this for the next version of AIs. But, I already figured out the solution to this whole thing a long time ago when we were chatting where, when Walmart is selling 10 plus of an item to someone more than once, their inventory thing could have been told to recognize that action and to start to keep track of it. And as soon as there's enough to indicate something else, they can impose a 5-item per order right away, just happen automatically, a cause and effect type of situation, and then alert everybody else so that, either if it's like a Beanie Babies or like a Cabbage Patch Dolls type of scenario where it's just all of a sudden it goes popular out of nowhere, that the store doesn't run out and become a laughing stock for being dummies, but also for situations like this. So there's that potential that the infrastructures are going to learn. And we've already talked about when we were talking about the robot cars killing people. When one of them robot cars kills somebody, it learns how it did that, and it supposedly tells all the other robot cars to never let that happen. So if it learns a blind spot, or if it figures out humans will jump after a ball irrationally, like supposedly the AI figures out that humans do that.
Or it tells them exactly how it did it, so all the other AI robots can do it better the next time.
It's in a meeting, collaboration, exactly. But no, you know what I'm saying? Like, so this should be a learning experience for everybody who programs these infrastructure systems, everybody who is part of them in all the different ways. And then you look at the strategic pieces that we might have been missing for this particular one, and it'll make people aware that we had strategic issues, masks and gloves or whatever, cleaners, sanitizers, that kind of thing. We'll know that those specific things are strategic, need to be held on to here, and we'll do that. And then we'll figure out ways to make it so that we don't need those. You know what I mean? So as soon as we figure out we need something, we'll figure out a way to make it better because we're entrepreneurial and we're inventive. So I'm looking for all the after from all of this to make us more resilient than ever. And the thing is, we're not the only country. This isn't like it just happened to us and the rest of the world is looking at us funny. This is happening to everyone. So it's an opportunity for us all to learn from each other. The way that 3D printing, have you seen some of the 3D printing, like for masks and for protective devices that people have come up with using like a sheet that you would put on an overhead projector and 2 pieces of adhesive? There was like they make it like a kind of like a welder's helmet, like a band that goes around your head. You adhere the piece of transparency paper over the front, and now it's an impromptu sneeze shield type of mask that a doctor could use for evaluation or something, or that somebody could use for just sneeze protection or to keep them from sneezing on people. And it costs like, they did a thing. I've been watching some guy on Instagram. They did like 4 versions before they figured out how to make it like strongest, print with the least amount of material, and print the fastest. And then they started going into production. They gave the things to everybody. Hosh is over there printing filters filter holders for his face. People are coming up with ways to use things that you normally use to put somebody out for a surgery, anesthesia, whatever it's called. Anesthesiology, they've been using those machines as the machines that they're needing to ventilate people. They're figuring out how to ventilate people 4 times more effectively. One machine can ventilate 4 people. There's all kinds of that kind of stuff happening too. I think all of them will change their business models just because they'll also think strategically, what if we had that back room that we keep mops in, or that we used to keep like the modems in, but we don't need them anymore because now we're wireless? Like, what if they just filled that room up with personal protection equipment and just be, Walmart could become such an infrastructure after all this, or some other store could jump in and show that they're better than Walmart, that they can, they could.
With the delivery aspect of it right now, I think Amazon is, because Amazon surpassed Walmart, right? Like last year. So I don't know. Amazon's probably banking.
Size of their business or what?
Yeah, Amazon surpassed Walmart in like gross, billions of dollars or whatever, right? Wasn't that last year or the year before? It was a while back. So, and with all this, everyone stay at home, man, I doubt. I think Amazon's probably rolling in the money right now.
Yeah, but like you say, it's not like they also have all their trucks working, all their employees. They've got their own issues, and they're learning.
We just wait until Amazon starts delivering fresh eggs and milk, right, and stuff like that.
Oh,
And
let's see if drones get any more leeway now that delivery people are a weak link because they're mammals and they're delivering viruses along with it. Because you could run a drone through an antibiotic mist and
steam.
send it out to yeah, it's
Steam.
an ion through an ion tube that would kill everything. You can send a robot through that, and out to people's. So maybe we'll just have a future Jetson tubes and stuff will just come to us in like giant Jetsons tubes or drones or something.
And there's
Yeah,
that Walmart takeout thing, but like I don't know if your Walmarts have that, but you pull up and a guy went shopping for you. And if you didn't have the ketchup on your list, right, he went and grabbed the closest other kind of ketchup, and you'd basically like do your shopping list, right, and pay online, and he brings it out, throws it in your trunk and everything. You never even got to get out of the car. Have you done that yet?
no, I don't do that. Old,
Yeah, I
but
don't like the idea of that because, like, are they looking at expiration dates and are they picking the best cut of meat and like the
yeah,
bread?
you got
not squished?
like if you were buying food for like somebody else, sure, I'll go there. But I ain't buying my own tomatoes like that, right? I ain't buying my own lettuce. Let somebody else decide what lettuce I want.
Yeah,
Not
that's what my wife does that, and that's what I don't get. That bugs me.
But no, when they changed our Walmarts from whatever 1,000 checkouts to one checkout and 1,000, you're the checkout guy now. They went in at the same time and turned this whole like orange tower thing into some kind of station where it's right by the door. So now they come in and tell you how much they love you. Right behind them, where it used to be like a big pile of Pepsis all the time, now that's a big orange thing that somehow is the pickup. And I don't know what it is, but I don't look in there too much. But that's like a whole thing now. And then there's and that's it. Pretty much all of our Walmarts down here have that big orange area. Plus, there's all the handicapped people have to walk farther because there's all those orange parking spots right up front now. I would get it for like, I need garbage bags and paper towel. Yeah, you can bring that out to me. I don't care about which garbage bag box I get, right? Or which paper towel. But even like a TV, I don't want the TV that's got a big gouge out of the side, like it fell off the top of the sack or something. Maybe a video game cartridge or like a record or tape or whatever people might buy, DVD. Yep, they're gonna make a bunch of them. The masks.
What I don't like right now is that the conspiracy theories are just the worst I've ever seen about anything.
Hold on.
I don't remember 9/11. I don't remember any other event in my lifetime that has as much, like, I guess, conspiracy and false info and just stuff out there as this event.
All right. Well, there's all kinds to talk about. So we didn't have the internet anywhere near what we got today in Y2K. So I would say there's nothing that's been exactly like this, but Y2K was worldwide and not like this in the fact that we had a countdown and then there was a complete at ease, like a complete breath of release, moments after the first hit, the first midnight hit. So I agree with you, though. There was like a lot of similarities, but there was just no internet. So I think that there could have been the craziness, but I don't know. I think we were also a bunch of people that lived through the 90s, right? So we just saw the internet starting to happen and we thought what it could be. And then we had this little bit of a hiccup and we all kind of went, oh, no, everything's going to be fine. The internet's going to be great. You know what I mean? So we came out of it super positive. This is different. This is an adversary against all humanity. This is a thing that we can't see that spreads faster than anything, has all kinds of fear and unknown to it. And it attacks every single human. Like it isn't cared. It has no aiming, and who knows when it's going to be satisfied. It's not like I want your land or I want your gold. I want your life. This is like just something that's thrashing through. That's what we got to deal with, right? Is I think the big difference that it's and the people that are going to prey on it, the unscrupulous that are willing to prey on people's, insecurities and fear and tension. They're going to prey on it in every 6 ways from everywhere. And that's going to create more tension. So that's going to encourage more people to come and prey on people. It's going to be a real challenge for us individuals to understand everything that's at play here, right? And everything, all the tension, all the things pulling on us.
Well, one thing that's really bothering me is I don't know what to believe. Like, I don't know, because there was a whole lot of this whole like, oh, fake news and fake stuff out there, right? And then I'm hearing stuff like, oh, a lot of the people who have died all took ibuprofen. Like they all had ibuprofen in their system or something like that. Don't take ibuprofen, right?
Don't go into too many details. I just don't want to get distracted because you got a good topic. I just don't want to get off on any of those tangents, specifics or whatever. But I hear what you're saying. The like, there's no whatever like established. It's not like Wikipedia is correct and we can all just look at Wikipedia because it's accurate. There's like no gold standard. We all have to figure it out. And since everything's in flux, it's really difficult
to listen to
our bearings. But let me go back to that because that's a super big point, and I'd rather spend like half of the show talking about that. But I want to hit, because I'm getting way behind on comments, I just want to hit some of these because I don't know what New York is saying here. You all hear about the people cutting trees down to keep people in or out. I guess one of each is going on. So you're talking like maybe, I guess now that I read it, like you're talking like a neighborhood where they're going to cut down some trees and make it so you can't just drive into their neighborhood and keep people out where they probably have like roadblocks or something. I would suspect that could happen, I suppose, depending on how freaked out people get. But I don't know if I'd be super concerned about something like that. That's the kind of whatever freaking out impromptu kind of shit people are going to do. Cutting down a tree is kind of stupid.
They'll end up cutting down their own power lines. You watch. They'll do something like that and end up cutting the power to their whole neighborhood and hurting themselves worse.
Park a few extra cars. You're telling me you've got a few extra cars in those places? Set up some barricades if you want. I can understand the concept. Your kids ain't bike into each other's house anymore. There's no need to have like 6 entrances into a housing area, and that would keep people from being crazy. But I hope you love all the people you're in that housing development with, because I guess y'all got the right to do it, but you're definitely in there together. But that's something else. I actually sent that topic to Honda for a Sunday chat. We could talk about that all you want. But I heard something on the radio the other night about the concept of a self-sufficient community, like an intended community where you bring a bunch of people who are prepper minded into a literal community. So you're not just working on your own hoping that your neighbors are in the same way, but you actually live somewhere where you make sure that you're able to weather just about everything. I don't know. Do you want to say anything about throwing down trees? Anything more about that?
I haven't heard any of that.
Yeah, it's definitely not that stress level out here. It is not that stress level. It's out here. It's more concern like, is this necessary? Like, people are still before the curve that aren't seeing the potential and are saying, do we really need to even be off work? There's still even some of that here. There's not freaking out and rallying together against your neighborhoods, against each other or anything yet.
But you say people aren't freaking out because it's not that level yet, but like everything's still off the shelves right now, right?
No. Shelves are completely full. The only thing there wasn't, I had to went to the Walmart the other morning. I've been sleeping weird. So I was awake at 7 or 6 in the morning. So I'm like, I'm going to go to Walmart just to see what it was like. And there was, I don't know how many are in there, but, big ass box of toilet paper, like 4 of them. You could tell that it was already eaten into. So I'm guessing some of the employees bought some, or they held some for something, because they didn't let old people in first at this Walmart. I got there right when they opened. But super civil. All the people that got there were in line, like you say, 10 feet apart, just like if we were cashing out, except, waiting to get in. They opened the door. Employees had been trickling in, while we were waiting. I was there for maybe 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And everybody trickled in. Pretty much everybody went to the paper aisle first, because that's obviously on people's minds. I was able to get a thing of toilet paper. There was 4 of those big boxes. I don't really know how many are in them. It's like a whole bunch of rolls of 9. So like whatever 3 by 3, they're selling them like in that kind of a bundle. So it's kind of a flat, long, big wall of toilet papers. There's like 4 giant boxes that a kid could make a fort out of toilet paper like that. So I'm guessing the first half hour of people, maybe. I don't have any idea. I don't know. It seemed like there was a lot more in those things, because I'm so used to buying toilet paper in like the double big ass containers. I've never bought this kind of toilet paper that each roll is like huge, super expensive, Charmin or something. I'm always buying the generic stuff. But anyway, so then that was the only thing scarce, literally. Water, I trip over water every store I go to. There's no shortage of water in the desert. Um, there's less meat. There are gaps in the meat, but there was meat everywhere. So anyway, they close at 8 at Walmart's and they open in the morning. So they have a whole shift of stock shelves. So there's no more like pallets in the aisles, but there was pizza, there was everything frozen was there. There was stuff stocked here.
Well, that's good to hear that. Like, not everywhere is stuff's just disappeared off the shelves.
And that's something else that everyone, we'll talk about that in a second, but the idea of like how to prep, like prepping is one thing and theoretic prepping is one thing, but now everyone's got some actual experience living through the prep, right? So at the other end of this, people are going to go, hey, you know what? Stocking a bunch of like number 10 cans of dehydrated food, blue chunks. Like I hate eating macaroni and cheese every single meal, every single day for a month. That was bad. Like, yes, I survived, but my sodium level is like through the roof. You know, I'm all puffy and bloated because I'm eating so much sodium constantly and like this and that. Like, you know, maybe I should have thought about what do they call like the windowsill garden or something with some, you know, to get some flavor in your life, or grow some cherry tomatoes, which almost grow like weeds, right? Like, you know, some people are gonna, I think, evaluate it, evaluate their, and then, you know, what they do during it or whatever. Like everybody thinks about prepping, but it's always like this crazy end of the world Jericho scenario, like a nuclear bomb went off or we got invaded. You know, there's some action happening. And in this case, it's like dead silence happening. So I'm thinking people are going to have to reevaluate. It's not like we're grabbing our guns and, you know, stressed. We're just sitting here bored on the rock, on the lazy boy and stressed. You know, so it's a whole different level. Like, did people prep enough games, playing card games, but like board games and, you know, actual games that you would play if the lights went out, or, you know, something to keep a bunch of kids involved that, you know, both Chutes and Ladders keep a bunch of kids that play video games involved, like it was when there was only 3 board games, but would it work today? So there's got to be something different with people's whatever plans, and think about all how creative people's ideas are going to be after they've actually lived it, instead of just 16 people theoretically following it through with their priorities and stuff. It's going to be the whole entire world had to sit around for a month thinking about what they should have done and what they would do next time and how this will never happen again. And you know what I mean? Like, oh, it's going to be different.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I hope I've heard, I don't know how true it is, but I heard like a bunch of either people on the fence or anti-gunners, went out and bought guns and stuff. So I don't know how true that is, but maybe that'll ease up some stuff for us.
I think so. And I think I'm using my CSI skills here, but I think it had to be non-gun owners, because gun owners aren't stupid enough to go wait in line for guns like that. We already had our guns. If it's like, oh, I really wanted to get that Beretta, are you going to go wait in line for that? Oh, I need that new CZ. Are you going to go wait in line for that?
Well, maybe it depended on the age. Like, what was the age of all those people online? Like, if there was a bunch of 18 or 19 or 20-year-olds or 21-year-olds, then I'd say, okay, those could still be like total gun people. They just don't have all the stuff they want yet. But if there was a bunch of like older people there, late 20s, 30s, 40s, that's then I'd say, yeah, that's a bunch of the anti-gunners.
Never thought about that, because honestly, yeah, if it was a bunch of old people in line, who really cares? Because even if they did change their mind, they barely got this one voting thing and they're gone. But if it was a bunch of 18-year-olds, no matter if they're gun owners or not, the fact that they're 18 and they're hopefully gun owners now means that they're going to be voting the rest of their lives as gun owners, and that would be good.
Yeah, I'm hoping it at least at the very least, I hope a lot of the people on the fence, they're the one. It made them go out, and they were the ones waiting in line to get a gun and they overpaid or whatever. But now that they're a gun owner, that's going to change them, right? So
They're not afraid. They understand it. They understand the reasons when we say the government.
they're going to research it. Yeah.
Government. We mean times like this when the government can't, and we mean if the government gets stressed enough and it turns on us, you could see that now. Like when we're saying the government can turn on you 2 months ago, they're like, you're crazy. If we say the government could turn on you today, they're like, yeah, we better get some guns because they're obviously waiting in line.
Is this going to be a bigger boost to new gun owners and all that than what we saw in 2012 or what we saw in 96 or?
Ever. It'll be unique. It'll be another unique. There'll be the assault weapons ban. There'll be 2013 and there'll be 2020. These will definitely be unique instances of firearms situation. But I mean, so many other things too, I guess, but not. I don't know how many other things coordinate to those specific dates. I mean, it'll definitely be a turning point for a lot of things right now. Think about vehicles. Think about how many people are reevaluating what vehicle they want, or reevaluating if they want laptops, or if you've got all desktops and you're a big fan of desktops because it's so cheap and blah blah blah. You ain't thinking about throwing your desktop in the van and running out of town. I can take literally everything I do, grab my big ass giant surfboard looking monitor under one arm, my laptop's under the other, and boogie, and I got all my stuff. So there's just little things like that. People might be thinking differently about a lot of different pieces of their land. Like, hey, let's say you buy a bunch of I don't know, giant wooden or metal. A lot of these people buy giant metal wall art. That'd be crazy. But if you bought a bunch of vinyl and woven patches and decorated your walls with that kind of badassery, you just take that with you if you had to bug out. And then you've got cool trading barter for the future. When people are like, starving for like salt and sugar and flavor, they're going to be like, oh, everything's gray and boring. Oh, you've got a colorful patch. That's awesome. Let's trade some valuable things for that. So think about ways people are going to change their prepping. All right, with that half-assed commercial in there, we're going to go to some of these things because I'm way behind in them now. Walmart delivering free to your house. I see a lot of organizations doing a lot of good things, and I think that's another thing we're going to see coming out of this is, I think, hopefully a whole nother appreciation for capitalism, but that's a whole nother conversation. I've seen some attacks on capitalism out of all this. New York, first time I heard that. Oops. There. My daughter did the curbside delivery for about 2 years. It all depends on the employee. Some do care and check things. Some are just riding the clock. Now, I never thought about it. If they have like a person who's like a shopper, and you can say like, I'd like, Jim, or I'd like Stacy or something, and then they get some sort of like reputation or something, and that would be totally different. One armed group told the police to leave. Don't know that worked out. The other group was guys working out of town. Well, I'm not sure about all that. I definitely haven't heard about that. They're not reporting on it or something. Our grocery store will deliver and unload them in your garage for extra $5. That's nice. There was something about Amazon workers going on strike and saying they want, or some delivery service was going on strike and they wanted $5 per delivery as like a hazard fee. Martial law, forced vaccinations, Chinese at our stores. What? Whatever. Damn my thumbs and the phone. I really can spell. Oh, don't worry about typing and spelling. Half the time, even when I'm on a computer, you don't realize, at least I don't realize I spelled something horrible until I've already hit it. And then there's nothing you can do to edit it. So I don't worry. So again, we got pink. Things are coming back. Just some sections are sporadic. Pasta, I can get a few items in. TP is sporadic, but they'll still be empty. I actually was sitting there listening to the Walmart guys in the morning doing some kind of order, and they didn't seem like, oh, we don't have that. Oh, we don't have that. It was more like, a challenge of what to build to. They didn't know, things weren't on their regular pattern or whatever. And I'm sure normally they'd have some kind of sports things set up, right? That's might be why we see so many snacks, because they probably were all set up for the sports. Nobody used them. Yeah, I used frozen pizza as a gauge because I was surprised how quickly all the frozen, like microwave and eat, like heat and eat type of food ditched out. I guess it makes sense. I just never thought about it before. I didn't see that happen.
I think that's the last thing I would take is the stuff that has to be refrigerated. Like I'm thinking like longevity, like canned foods and
Like real, not like, hey, I'm having a party and I need a bunch of big pizzas or whatever. Because yeah, how are you going to put a whole bunch of pizzas in a refrigerator? I can barely cram one in there diagonal.
I'm thinking like top ramen and canned food and rice and just stuff that takes little water to cook and that you could cook very basic over a fire if needed, that kind of stuff.
And that's just at Walmart for whatever reason. Walmart's frozen foods are gone. All my other stores I go to, the frozen foods aren't even dented. They're just normal.
And our milk, bread, all the meat, all the canned foods like cereal, chips, like we got plenty of soda pop though and water, like plenty of water and soda pop. And
all the stuff you can make out of corn syrup.
Yeah, like there's plenty of that on the shelf. But I mean, just like there's nothing on the shelves.
I didn't see any dent. I went there and I was walking around and I smashed into, what do you call, like the thing that, what do you call the trailer hitch, I guess, on the front of my trailer. I smashed into it and I got like this giant, massive cut on my shin now, of course, right? So it was just so massive that it, it's like long enough that it breaks all the time just because it's wrapping around my leg. So because it keeps breaking, it's got, I wanted to wipe Neosporin on it. And especially now, right? I'm more worried than ever that somebody's going to cough on my leg underneath of my pants somehow. So I went to go buy some more Neosporin, which is basically antibiotic toothpaste, right? And I mean, not even dented. Even the other day when I was looking for a thermometer, like nothing, not even dented in the aisles with vitamins and baby stuff. Can you imagine if you had a baby, wouldn't you buy like 2 of all the baby stuff if you were really concerned? Like none of the baby stuff, any of the pills and stuff that are on, the pegboard, that kind of department or that aisle. Whenever I went to the store, I didn't go look the last time, but
as obnoxious as one question there about prepping antibiotics.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know that a lot of the same antibiotics are used in animals. A lot of times they start off as human antibiotics and then they go to animals and it's the same exact medicines. And you can get like amoxicillin and sulfatabs and all sorts of stuff like that at your local pet stores or farm and ranch type stores like IFA and Cow Ranch. And a lot of times they'll have a little freezer in there and you can go in and it's refrigerated and you can get all sorts of just different antibiotics and stuff like that.
You can get it online too. I don't know, but now do you think that stuff's in short supply? I guess I haven't been to a feed store. I don't know. It must be open. You got to feed critters. It's got to be essential, right?
Ours is open. I'm guessing like, caring for cattle and chickens and all that kind of stuff is, probably essential, right?
Unless they can deliver it. I guess it's possible that they're fake because a lot of those times they got a furrier or somebody that's out delivering anyway. They might just make it a delivery only type of thing where they don't have the store open. But they also, like, these things are, like somebody was saying, like, oh, how do these hospitals survive? Like the same way they survive with all the other horrible shit that happens every single day. Like hospitals are constantly under attack of every disease. Like every single person in the hospital is trying to give each other their diseases and they somehow all get out of there okay, pretty much.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Like New York Outcast says, they say the virus has been found in all 3 major beef, chicken, and pork. Okay, first of all, who's they?
Yes.
And like, has that like really been verified, or is that just like something that was on Facebook, or like that's
the appropriate, like that's the appropriate amount of attention. Like that's completely new to me too. So I just wanted to put it up there exactly what you said.
Yeah, like the other day that someone was saying that they found it in deer and that we can't hunt deer.
And that's because somebody was talking about chronic wasting, right? Which is something that's similar in deers. And then they heard that article or they heard something and they tried to regurgitate that or tell that story. And it, telegraph, telephone game, it turns into it's in deer, right? So it's not even like has to be a plot. It can just be people don't get it. Because I heard the same thing talking about chronic wasting in deers. but they weren't saying that this is it or it's even like it. It's just that it's parallel, like the way that it transmits as fast, basically, and how bad it is, or how devastating it could be. Oh, where were we at? That was New York's, right? This one. So yeah, I want to just do the same thing like you just said. Let it be known I do not have 325 years in my tiny home. See, that's the other thing is it's got to be different for different people. Like if you're in an apartment in a city, you don't have the same amount of preps as a family in a somewhere that's got a whole giant house.
Well, and everywhere is different. Like, where I live, it's part of the main religion here to prep. Like that is like built into the religion, right? And so like people go here to the extremes like that, and so when there is like a panic, especially with an earthquake right after, man, like there's nothing here. Like I mean, there's nothing on the shelves.
I was going to say, I would think with Mormons being already prepped that they'd number one be ready and number two not panic, right? They wouldn't run out and grab every
They
Cheeto.
panicked more. They did.
But the earthquake, I could see stressing people out to a whole level of then nothing ever's happened. What could be worse, a volcano or a tidal wave, or maybe something worse than that. But you know what I mean? Like in the middle of all this to then have an earthquake on top of it, I could see that stressing people out, who would probably be pretty resilient to being stressed. Because I mean, you've lived there for a while. Y2K and other things, they didn't get freaked out and panic, right?
No, not at all.
But and then there's always it doesn't take everybody who was, let's say, we're stereotyping the Mormons, I guess, but we're going to go ahead and do that because it's a positive stereotype. I think we're trying to make it a positive stereotype. I think, but let's say all the Mormons were like rational and calm-headed because they were already ready to go. Well, the people that ain't Mormons there could have still cleaned out the shelves. It didn't, not like they could have been cleared. The shelves could have been cleared with a Mormon never touching an item. You know what I mean? Right? It's not like it's 100% Mormon.
Yeah, no, only half the state's Mormon, so it definitely could have been cleared out by everybody else.
Here we go. I fear clampdown on antibiotics, but it might be our fault for overusing antibiotics on livestock and people. I mean, it's definitely a big mess, but it's definitely like DTP is about to say here. There's no way to point fingers yet, but nobody's innocent either. We have a giant, crazy biological soup that we all wade around in, and it's pretty much a lot of dumb ideas and traditions and stupid reasons, but whatever. Like we also pretty much boogie for like however many millions of years, thousands of years or whatever, until right now. It's not like everything's over. It's just a bad time. And yeah, I agree. There's no way to start making predictions at this point. Best we can do is, we'll start talking about some of these strategies over here, but best thing you can do is realize what we can do and control what we can control and take a couple of deep breaths, right? And we'll talk about it in a second here, but a lot of this is going to be about what we focus on too, right? And that means who we listen to. I'm talking use if you need to antibiotics for actual shit it's fan, but you can't get a doctor. I don't know about that. I'm nowhere near a doctor, but I'm nowhere near unaware either. I don't think anymore, but I know what I don't know, and I'm just afraid that you could think you're doing the right thing with antibiotics, but then create a wicked super bug by doing it wrong. Like, because you know what I mean? That can happen. And I just know a couple of people that have had some wicked flesh-eating disease stuff happen to them, and I'm scared. So I don't want to, but I don't know. We've had fish stuff. I don't have it anymore.
There are some natural antibiotics, like I think honey, garlic, ginger.
I agree. I think those things are worth having for sure.
The echinacea or whatever. Like, there's all sorts of stuff that, my wife has like a herb garden, right? And but I know honey is like not only antibiotic but antibacterial. You can put that on wounds and all sorts of stuff. On like deep gashes, like.
You know those that movie where they go so deep into the ocean that they got to wear a suit that fills with a fluid that's highly oxygenated, and then they just breathe the fluid.
Leviathan.
Yeah, I'm gonna do that, except in one of those Leviathan suits, I'm gonna fill it with honey and just bait like.
That's what it looked like they were doing. I think that's a real thing. Like that's a real thing. You can actually breathe like an oxygenated like,
yeah.
like that.
Not
It's
in
like,
honey, but like in that whatever suit they use. Yeah. Although you'd be breathing the same stuff that would be like going around by your foot or something, that would be kind of gross. Unless maybe they got a separate tank that goes into your lungs, probably. Yeah, but fish stuff is the ones I use. But you can get horse ones and stuff. I think fish ones are like you were saying though, they're the same exact ones as us. It's just that, well, you know, there's levels of cleanliness and whatever, blah blah blah, that they put for human stuff, and then there's different level that they put for fish stuff. So that's where you might be getting a bunch of.
when you and how you know that is when you do go to the pet store or the farm and ranch store, the premium antibiotics and all that will say human grade on them. They will. They'll be like they'll say like, oh, this is like human grade. Like this is the good stuff, baby. So
Interesting. So like another the fish brand will say it's human grade, meaning like it is better than we needed to have. So you know that this is a good brand or whatever. Okay.
Yep.
Times are changing. More should think a bit more now, but yeah, you can't fix stupid. Stupid's gonna keep happening. Stupid just accidentally happens, I guess, right? We already hit that one. Get the store brand French bread pizzas 10 for $10, and it takes 30 or 40 to fill a normal freezer. I think I know what you're talking about. I heard Spam is one of the best preps. I think it has a shelf. But you're just kidding or whatever. I think it's real salty. I never really liked Spam that much. I mean, I would eat it back in the day, but I didn't look forward to it.
If you cut Spam thin and you fry it, it's actually not bad at all. It's really edible if you fry it. Like it's just like little ham slices.
Hash, chop it up into cubes with potatoes.
Yes.
Grandma used to make that, and it was okay. But I don't like it when it's like just bologna. Like you're saying, I like it to have. Back in the day, I would have liked it to have the brown edge or something, like to be cooked a little bit, like a piece of steak or something. Let's see. If you use coffee filters, you might want to get a bunch. People are using them to make masks. Oh, I never even thought about that, but that's crazy. That's true.
Yeah, but is a coffee filter fine enough or whatever to? Is it?
It's not ideal, but they probably are repurposing them.
Well, is it going to stop anything though? Like realistically,
you don't have to just put one and hope. You can put
other than like large dust.
Well, you could put like 6 in a row, staple them together on the edges and together, but maybe even put like a layer of charcoal in there. There's things you can, you can use them as elements of a bigger system. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
But yeah, French press is a great idea, and it's actually tastes great. It basically a coffee filter. You're taking your grounds, so you're taking your coffee bean and you're roasting it, and you're ideally roasting it so all those oils, are still there. So now you roast it and you grind it, and you're going to grind it to either a fine powder or to a coarser grind, right? And that's about how the oils come out of that thing. How many, whatever, I don't know if they're tannins, what the hell the brown parts are called, but the oils and the brown parts come out of that depending on the grind, right? They're going to depend on how much are going to come into the water. So you put that all into a coffee filter, you're losing how much of that oil? Imagine just pouring some really flavorful oil through a coffee filter. You'd be losing essence there. You'd be losing something. Some of it's going to just stick to the coffee filter. And more than likely, it's all the like lightest, fluffiest, whatever. I'm thinking of like pouring something like that's suspended in turpentine or in a solvent. It'd be like the stuff that comes out the end of a filter. You see it. It's like all the little tiniest of things that were suspended in that solvent. So in this case, water's the solvent or whatever. You're losing all those oils that probably have all the actual flavor of the coffee. So with a French press, you just take those coffee grinds, you put them in the water, and all you're doing is moving the coffee grinds physically out of the way, but you're not removing anything from that water. So I believe a French press and cowboy coffee, things that leave the grinds in the water and simply physically remove the grinds from what you're drinking, are the best tasting coffee you'll ever have. It changes coffee. It really tastes more mellow and interesting than what you get out of any kind of percolator. And then you get into the temperature and those electronic whatever, some kind of electronic heating element, it can get the water to a temperature, and it is possible to get those things tuned or to like just accidentally get one that keeps it, at a nice temperature. But if you put in a lot of water, it's going to be a different temperature than if you put in a little bit of water, unless the thing has a really good brain and interactive feedback system. That thing is never going to get consistent water. But you can almost boil water. You can boil water and let it set. Like it's possible for you to just physically get water to a consistent temperature that you like and pour that over your stuff into a French press. So thanks for the opportunity to let me bitch about coffee, but I'm not that much into coffee, but this is a perfect time to never use a coffee filter again, or to use coffee filters for something else instead of that. Because I do have coffee filters around usually, but almost exclusively for other stuff. Like if I've got a bunch of bolts or something and I'm like, I just don't feel like scrubbing them off, but I want them, they're all rusty or something, I'll just stick them in a coffee filter and pour solvent over them or whatever. I'll do stuff like that with coffee filters. Wasn't Cycle Camp in a chat? Yeah, he was in a chat with was he in both of the chats that we had on the big channel talking about stress? He was definitely on the one last Tuesday. I don't think he's been in a Daily Gun Show, though, for quite a while. Maybe a month or more. I think it's been since SHOT Show, but maybe even before SHOT Show. It's been a little while since he's been in a Daily Gun Show, and it's only been one that he jumped into. I've sent him links. He just does other things in the evenings, I guess. Antibiotics, even expired ones, are going to cost way more. I don't know. How expired can antibiotics get, do you think?
I think someone told me 10 years, but they lose their effectiveness. But
Yeah.
you can take to them up to they're 10 years old, but they do slightly lose their effectiveness as they age. But
Well,
10 years, unless it's a refrigerated antibiotics, and then that's going to be obviously if they don't stay refrigerated.
I don't know. I don't remember the thing, but there was something about like if it's not consistent, then it's antibiotics are sort of like sending in, the way I understand it, it's like sending in infantry or something. Like you're sending in waves of armored individual things that are going out to fight individually. It's not like you're fighting with tanks. It's not like, maybe if it's tanks, it's 1-to-1, but it's not like you're fighting with bombers where you're going in and one antibiotic is taking out a whole bunch of the bad things. It's like a one-on-one. So if you send in enough, then it takes it out. If you send in too many, I don't know if there's probably some bad thing there, but if you send in too few, then you run the risk of them getting stronger or something, like them figuring out like, oh, okay, we learned something and now we're stronger. And now you got to send in different ones or even more. And that's where I guess the problem is with the old antibiotics, right? Like a standard antibiotic might be 1,000 units and you send it in and it does 1,000 units. And if you need more, you send in 1,000 units. But if you've got one that's like 16 years old or something, it's maybe 2,500 units and you think you're sending in 10,000. And how do you gauge your next attack based on you didn't know how many you even sent in, but you're getting feedback that I need more troops? I think that's the danger, right? You get into like real sloppy medicine. I might be overthinking it and I might be confusing stuff because it's been a while since I paid attention to it. I think it's when you're younger, you're like, I'm going to live forever. And once you get super old, you're like, am I really going to count? Like, if I get a lung disease, I'll just die. Like, I'm not going to try to fight a lung disease in like the Mad Max days. We don't know what it's going to be like in the after either. If it's going to be like 12 monkeys, everybody walks around in plastic bags all the time, or if it just goes back to normal and it turns out that, oh, if you mix this and this, it kills it. And that makes sense. And in the future, it had AI and they killed the bugs before they even happen.
I totally forgot about that movie until you said that.
Which one?
12 Monkeys. I totally forgot about that movie.
Yeah, well, as far as like the weird, like, that was the same guy who did quite a few of those, like, is it dystopia type of movies, like a crazy future?
Yeah.
And that one is specifically like biological or infectious disease fearing type of scenarios, right? Everybody's walking around plastic bags and weird masks and stuff. Let's see. So then I've heard that you should only use honey from your local area. That's interesting. I mean, it definitely will be different from things, but I don't know if it's like a should. Because wouldn't you want to taste like the difference between like what it's like in Colorado or Minnesota and Arizona and Florida? I think it'd be neat to taste some different honey. Never thought about it. But they all have to taste like whatever the flowers is the bugs found. Spam on the shelves expired 5 years. Look it up. I'm told it's something about how the filter is pressed instead of woven. That works like a real mask would. Interesting. And again, you can do things, like a sock by itself ain't so great, but you rip a sock up into pieces and put it through something or make things go through multiple layers, and it can hold different, sand and charcoal and rocks apart from each other. So it'd be real useful as a piece. Oh, that's not good. Selling canned goods with expiration date at 18. I usually look at the expiration date and use that as if I should, I'll look at 2 or 3 cans of something sometimes. And if I notice that the stuff in the front is newer than the stuff in the back, I'll typically quit shopping at that store if I can. Like there's definitely one of the reasons I quit shopping at like the normal stores and went to my 99-cent store is because that's one of those things. Like they'll actually sell enough stuff that they don't have old stock, where you go buy like a thing of vegan refried beans or something that nobody ever buys. Yeah, the brand new one sitting on the front and the old ass one is sitting in back. Nobody pays attention to some of the stuff at some of those stores. I used to think I wanted to stick around to teach the younger folks, but now I don't care about the younger folks anymore. Now I'm just an old codger, but I'm not 59 either. Better adapt it to the local pollen. Interesting. I mean, that's not bad for you to eat the honey from somewhere else, is it? I mean, I've never heard of that. But also, I have heard that honey can be not good for you, right? Like, aren't there people, am I crazy? Is it honey can be allergic? People can be allergic to honey?
I don't know. I know it's like antibacterial and lasts forever. I'm pretty sure I heard about them finding honey from ancient Egypt that was still edible, like just as edible, like today.
I was watching, I can't remember. I was watching some movie and they had a mummy and honey in it. I'm going to jump over here. We're an hour something into the show. A bunch of people are joining in. Thanks for being part of the conversation there. That's what it's all about, is to be, having an actual conversation here. And I think we've been chatting about something useful. But I wanted to jump over and talk about this thing, which I did think was pretty neat. As far as ideas with coping with the stress, fear, and uncertainty. And then this one I was just looking at specifically for somebody I know. But so it says it could take a toll. I'm not going to read the whole thing. There's this part about staying informed, but don't obsessively check the news, right? That's one of their like headings. Understand your anxiety. Great. So once you understand that you're freaking out, you're going to understand it, I guess. Stay informed, but don't obsessively check the news. And then it says stick to trustworthy sources like the CDC and WHO. Of course, I'm not going to listen to nobody tell me there's only 2 sources. So I would be curious to hear what people think of as trustworthy sources, right? Because we're all going to have our own, and that might be useful to hear what some other people's are. Limit how often you check for updates. And I don't know if that's something I think I haven't thought about that, but that might be a good way to meter, right? That might be a good way to self ration or whatever it would be called. So that if you only listen to it twice a day or something, so that you don't freak yourself out, right? Because you're the one listening to it. And that might be a way to deal with it. Step away from it if you start to feel overwhelmed. I mean, I guess that's good for everything, but how do you know when to do that? So that's like saying don't do bad things. So I don't know if that step is all that useful. Maybe somebody can look at that one in a different way. Ask someone reliable to share important updates. And I hope that that's what these chats do, is let me know if I'm crazy or not. And if this chat itself doesn't do it, or this show itself doesn't do it, hopefully the idea that we have an online community, that people know each other, what our personalities and where we're coming from, and our, you know, our different perspectives on things. I've definitely been able to feel a lot more aware of what's going on and capable to deal with to be able to rationalize the BS, or put the BS from the news in perspective after hearing regular people who I know for years. So, you know, if I'm crazy on that one. And then be careful what you share. And I think that's where I wanted to not go too much into what you were talking about before, Dead Horse. But, right, like, I think it's this part. The trustworthy sources and the careful what you share are kind of hand in hand, right? They talk about snoping things. But, I mean, am I crazy? Or is, you know, we evolve, we learn, we get better. Is it possible that at the end of all this, we're just going to be stronger, able to communicate better, because everybody will kind of understand that you got to vet information and take a second before you repost something more than ever before, because it's not like it's brand new concept and it's just common sense, I guess. But now there's
I think now people fight for views. They fight for clicks and views.
In a normal environment, everything's up and up and we're all fighting for views. But now it's like there's consequences. And if you incite panic, it's not like you can hide from it in the after. We know that the meme lords on Reddit, if somebody does something inadvertently, intentionally, or like frivolously, and it causes problems, like that's going to be found out. Like it'll be scrutinized and CSI down to the minor detail. And no one will be able, you know what I'm saying? So with that in mind, I don't think we don't see it. I don't think we see too much of a deliberate misinformation, at least the obvious deliberate misinformation. But maybe I'm too optimistic about that. But is that what you're saying? Is that the same point as you were saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
Now, as far as CDC and WHO, I'll go to them while we're online here and see. But to me, they're both a big mess, and I don't trust either one of them. They're both like, well, I don't know. CDC is us, I guess, but this one's the world. I don't trust nothing that's the world. But I guess we need something to know what's going on. I'm afraid of what their intentions are, I guess, right? So I'm taking all of this with a grain of salt, because I assume everyone hates us, right? Even though I don't think they do, I'm going to assume they do. Oh, and I know it's cost like $250 for this software. So I know right there they got more money than I can spend on software. But I haven't looked at this one too much. Have you looked at either one of these before? Has anybody looked at either one of these before?
No. Well, I've looked at CDC before, but not for a long time.
Well, I mean, I've definitely looked at the website in the past, but I mean, as far as for like monitoring this or anything, for some reason, I'm going to consider this to be like 5 minutes behind and like just super obtuse, right? It's not going to really help anybody. This has got to be like in general, like if you were at work and your boss said, go write up a thing for us about this is where you'd go to copy and paste some stuff. But otherwise, is there a lot of people going here for info, do you think?
I don't know. I wouldn't even try. I'm thinking a lot of people are still getting their info from like Facebook and Instagram and social. I think so many people. I'm guessing that there's going to be an age gap, right? So I bet you maybe people over 40 are going to the CDC. I bet you people.
I think they're going to TV. At least my experience is that people over 40 are not on Facebook, or if they are, they're just verifying what they heard on TV, or comparing it to what they heard on TV. But they're all on TV. Everybody I know my age and just a little bit younger and older is addicted to TV instead of the internet, which isn't good or bad. I guess it's just different than being addicted to the internet. So I don't know if they might go over here to look at it for sure. And that's probably what this is for, right? Because this doesn't seem like it's for internet savvy people. This seems like it's for somebody who's never been online before, and they made I don't know, for your grandparents or something. I guess it's just also to have consistency so that they're just saying all the same stuff everybody's heard, except they're just saying it. So that it's literally listed somewhere. But anyway, I don't see anything all that awesome here, anything mind blowing. This one is a mess, and I don't even know where to start clicking. They definitely have their donate button right at the top, but I suspect they're going to say the same type of stuff at a giant level, the bird's eye level, so it's almost useless. But this one, aside from that, had more information. So that was that first thing about basically kind of rationing or throttling, I guess, better word, how much news intake you take, and then being aware of where you get the news. But then they go focus on the things you can control. And we kind of talked about that one, came up during the chats that we had last week with a bunch of people. I brought a bunch of smart people together to try to talk about these steps. Wish I would have known about this, because this could have gave me at least some bullet points to direct everybody. Talks about washing your hands and all this stuff that we've heard everywhere. But stuff as far as like planning for what you can, I thought this was sort of interesting. It's natural to be concerned about what may happen and blah, blah, blah. So write down specific worries you have. I didn't read that one before. I don't know about that. Make a list of all the possible situations you can think of without getting hung up on a perfect option. And I thought that was interesting. Just write, spitballing scenarios, or, just writing down a bunch of possible, I guess scenarios is the way to say it, like possible situations that might happen. Just starts making your mind start getting out of a rut, right? It gets you to start thinking about different directions, think different angles. You write down something, your tendency, at least for me, is to think of the opposite, and then to write something that's in the middle, and then to figure out if you come at it from the other, the fourth direction, is that even a way? And then once you start doing that, you start seeing, oh, well, there's not just an inevitable conclusion to this. There's actually 6 or 8 ways that it could pan out. And I've already got like 10 different things. So I need to start, you start immediately opening everything up by just starting to list it down. And I think, I don't know about you, but on a piece of paper for me, like if I just open up a blank piece of paper and a spiral notebook, a piece of paper from the copier pile, something like that, and just literally start writing it with a pen or pencil. To me, that's the way, if I'm maybe got a big project I want to do, or something that never been done before, and how you're going to even approach it. That's, I like that strategy. So I thought this was a pretty novel. And that's one of the reasons I even read this whole thing. I really like that one. Again, from the other conversation, focusing on the concrete things that you can solve rather than circumstances beyond your control. It sounds obvious, but sometimes it just takes, the snap of someone saying it or whatever, or being able to read it like this. Whenever I almost killed Aura one time, I drove him over to California in the old van, and it didn't have air conditioning, or doesn't have air conditioning. I almost dehydrated him, and I didn't realize until he was almost dead, and I was freaking the fuck out because I almost killed my dog, or I thought I did at least. And it took him a while to come back from all that drinking and eating and stuff. And in that time, I ended up reading the book that I carry around with me, which is like basically a first aid book, sort of like a manual you'd have as an EMT or a veterinarian, I guess, for dogs. And I just have it in case if I need it for something that I, had never encountered before. So, maybe a weird thing for a different kind of dog. And I figured it would be a nice resource to have. But what I never anticipated is when I was freaking out with my dog, who I screwed up, sitting there coming back to life slowly, me freaking out, and it wasn't a given. I was freaking out pretty bad. Having that book to read was so therapeutic, I guess is the word, or it distracted me in such a way that it felt constructive, and I was still there in the moment. I wasn't like, I'm going to read a magazine about, freaking race cars or something stupid. I was there doing something, and I had something that was useful. So, I think some of that was what I'm trying to get across to people. Like, you don't realize this stuff till after. Sometimes, I guess, maybe digging into some of this might be useful. Want to break in on any of this?
No, I think I bet it would be pretty useful and handy, and just, yeah. And not only that, but sometimes you just need something to read.
Yeah, to get your mind off of the whatever it is you're focused on, because that's, I think, and especially now. I mean, I don't know. It's got to be different when you got other people in the house, but I'm not the only person out there that's not with it. It has other people. It doesn't have a bunch of other people around. Yeah, if your normal routine is screwed up, or if you're normally at work and that other person is there, or you're there and they're normally not there, like that's got to be getting odd for people. And it's about to go into a month of it. So, thinking this thing's rationally before they get slipping and slipping and slipping until you're not looking at it from, rational eyes or whatever. Everybody's about to see what it's like to get stir crazy for a month, right?
I think people are already going stir crazy. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now.
2 weeks from now is going to be interesting as hell because there's still going to be 2 more weeks to go. Once it's in the third week, everybody will be like, "There's just another week."
Well,
It's just
luckily, there are some things like companies trying to help out with that. Like, I don't know about all phone companies. I got a text message from my phone company. They're giving us extra 10 gigabytes of data on each line.
Oh, really? I got a text from my phone company that said, "When are you going to pay us, you deadbeat?" I'm like, I kind of want my phone, so I'm going to pay them, I guess. But I'm rationing who I'm paying. I'm not going to be able to pay them all. I can pay some of them, and I'm like a month behind on most. But yeah, I was hoping that it was like, hey, in a time of stress, we've made a bunch of money, and we're going to just push all bills off or something. You're still owe us, but it'll be in next year.
That's what I was hoping for. Is like, oh, you don't gotta pay this month, but no, they gave an extra 10 gigabytes of high speed data, so that'll help with the kids and stuff like that, and help. And I'm guessing that like other companies are doing that. I'm hoping, right? Like maybe cable companies are giving away like free premium channels for the next month or two, or I'm just hoping a bunch of companies are doing stuff like that to help.
But definitely, well, Harbor Freight gave all of their gloves and masks to whoever wanted them. So they already had them distributed at their store. So whoever needed them, they would go to medical. I've heard of some other things. Nothing ever coming to mind. Lockjaw says One American News is the only news channel I watch 2 to 3 times a week. I never even heard of that. Is that like an NBC or is that like something else? One America News? No idea what that is. Well, Black Cat is waking up, I guess. Morning. Let's see. World Meter is good for checking the stats. CDC website doesn't change much. Well, that's another point, is I never looked at it enough to know, but that makes a lot of sense. Like a lot of times, stupid things like that, government front doors aren't going to change very often. They might change little weird pieces here and there in the background, but how do you know? And their sites are such messes that there's no way to really know unless you'd listen to an interview and somebody points you straight there, or you get a newsletter with a link right to it or something. Let's see. Everything the CDC releases has to be cleared with World Health, or the White House. That was told to the public at a press conference weeks ago when this started. Well, that makes sense. That's under their branch, so they don't want people going rogue in an emergency and just saying whatever with the caveat of being, or with the credential of being the CDC. I can't wait till the CDC has to pay for all of this, not pay with money, but pay for consequences of suggesting that we have gun epidemics when they weren't paying attention to pandemics or potential pandemics, which is, Center for Disease Control, going after property and people's habits and lifestyles, and not our traditions and our property and not our adversaries, our biological adversaries. Oh, here we go. After 55, you're out of fighting. Wait, so after 55, are you out of fighting condition, or nowadays is it 65? If they can run, give them a gun. I don't know what that's about.
It's different for every single person, I would say. It's dependent.
Yeah, once you're at a certain age, like you should probably sit in the turret or like in the driver's seat or something where the machine can do the physical work, but you probably still got mental in there, as long as your arms and legs can wiggle. Otherwise, maybe it's time for strategy. Maybe you get some kind of a tactical job, offer advice and coaching.
Just watch any recent Al Pacino movie or something. How does he beat up all the bad guys? Or Mel Gibson.
DTP is saying some people never get to fighting condition in the first place. That's for sure. We don't need fighters. We need people that can like just be calm and rational. Who's fighting nothing at this point? Can't beat up a little tiny virus. Can't shoot a virus. Blue Alpha and a couple other companies are making masks. As far as like sewing stuff, yeah, I've seen a whole bunch of people like just sewing the face mask type of thing. Constitutional news outlet, thanks. Like as far as constitution, what would be like constitutional conservative, like focused, or like literally from the Library of Congress or something.
Like think what would have happened like a couple months ago if you walked into a bank with a mask on.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Like
even a medical
you
mask.
in yourself, or even a doctor mask. Yeah, really. Although doctor masks, people from like Japan wore those things around quite a bit. Probably.
Yeah, that's Japan and China and stuff doing that. Like here, that was like they even have like some banks even have a thing that says remove your hat and glasses before you come in and stuff, right?
Right. They would have probably looked at you funny and made you take it off, or at least showed you something, like made you show your face. Make sure you're not trying to not show your face, I guess.
That's one thing is how many places have stopped taking actual cash because they don't want money being touched and touched hands and stuff, right? So they want everything to be done by card.
I haven't been out enough to see that yet, but that's interesting because I did have a friend who was saying that went to go buy cigarettes and he gave her their card and she was like, "Oh, thank you. Like every single person's been giving me cash today." So that in that store, at least some gas station somewhere in Tucson, I guess, that place had been, everybody's using cash. I don't see people. I only see maybe. I mean, I don't shop that much, but when I go to the store, I only see like maybe 1 out of 4 or 1 out of 3 people using cash anymore. Like in the before times, you know what I mean? Like just most people use a card of some sort nowadays. Way more than half for me.
And has gas prices dropped everywhere? Because I've noticed gas prices have dropped.
Did you listen? You were there watching Honda's pseudo conspiracy chat, like the easy conspiracy chats, all the easy conspiracies, none of the hard ones. He was ignoring some of the comments in the thing about the gas thing, and I don't even know. That's what I kind of tuned in for. I wanted to hear some of the real deal conspiracies about all this, not just the fear and panic or whatever. I want to hear the conspiracies, not just the this is engineered, but I want to know what this is a distraction. I don't believe that this was created as a distraction, or if it was, obviously it got way out of control. It's not just
ran with it.
But somebody's definitely using this to their advantage, and way more than one person is using this to their advantage. And I'm definitely interested in who those people are and what the fuck they think they're doing, because something's going on with the oil, right, or the gas or something right now. You know anything about it?
No, all I know is that it's just the price of gas has dropped. That's all I know.
Yeah, but somebody was saying something, or I heard something on the radio, and I don't know the radio. I just hear it in passing. Something about it could potentially be something like they're tweaking with the oil prices, getting ready for something, or I don't know. I just don't know. That's why I was curious. I think there might be something else going on. Well, I know there's something else going on. I suspect there might be some people that, even though they didn't start this, and even though they couldn't predict it being at this scale, you know what I mean? Like how they say they've got stuff on the boilerplate or on the bookshelf waiting, they just blow the dust off of it and bring it out. There's probably a lot of scenarios where people had war game stuff and said, if this ever happens, then, and now they're going, uh-oh, it's happening. Let's start thinking what we can make out of this. Let's figure out what we can do here. They're not looking, and that's at every level. Let's see. I saw a video from a doctor talking about combining the something and something else and it eradicating the corona. Yeah, exactly. That's what I heard too. And if this is true, it'll be mass described and this will be over. And that's what I never see, the fear and the fear and hate, the fear and panic. They never anticipate like anything like that. They always have to say, oh, it could be this many, all the way up to this many. They never include the fact that or it could just end really quick. Or, something could happen and they figure out that, oh, if you just unzip it, everybody's done. And that's what it almost sounds like with some of these things. It's something about the silver or zinc or something, nickel, some kind of metal, and something else, some kind of malaria disease pill, and suck on a nickel or something. And then, but again, we talked about when New York was saying stuff before. Is that all bullshit? I heard that on the radio, so that makes it at least a different level of bullshit, but it could just as easily be bullshit. But I think that's at least a potential, right? They'll come up with something that supercomputer will figure out the equation and they'll focus it in. They'll figure out the last couple of things, and then they'll go, "Oh yeah, try this." And all of a sudden, Italy's polka dancing again. Or you can take this to size your bills. I don't think. Well, I think a lot of people are going to have to, right? I hope. I don't know. I guess it depends on everybody's situation. If somebody had 3 months worth of bills, set aside for an emergency fund, then why would they care? They figured it out already. They're just going to keep going business as usual.
It's you got to gamble right now, so it's either like, okay, like I'm going to be all conservative, or do you know what? I'm going to max out everything and bet on the end of the world.
That's happening, right? But then the other side too, there's people that are like me. I'm like, I don't go around spending money normally, but I'm certainly not buying no extra shit. I'm not buying no DVDs or nothing. I'm not investing in a video game cartridge or something. But yeah, there's some people that are paying for every credit card they can get, and either buying food or just buying garbage.
The worst thing out of this is a ton of movies I wanted to see have all been postponed until like way later this summer.
Yeah, and I guess that's I don't know. We were kind of talking about the nerd shit, more than just like they're out of people. Like they just want to wait until they can make more money or something. Like they're done with their waiting to make more money on them.
Is this going to affect? Okay, so so this is obviously going to affect movie theaters right now. But let's say in the future, like 2 years from now, 5 years from now, even if this goes away, is this going to affect like restaurants, like eating out and movie theaters and places like that where a bunch of people are sports arenas? Like, is everything just going to be like watch at home on TV now, or what?
I doubt it. Possible that it'll be well, we don't know because we're just whatever. But I mean, like something happened and we got seatbelts. Like something happened and we decided to get health insurance. So it could be something that's major. But on the other hand, look at some of the crazy stuff we've ignored, like Y2K. Like nobody gave a crap about that. We just kept going. If you look at it in history, we've literally had a whole bunch of these. They come in waves, year after year after year after year after year, forever. We've never adjusted nothing ever. This one's hitting us more than ever before. So it's possible. When we had the scare with Tylenol, we changed the way people open jars, and nobody seems to care that it's a pain in the ass to open every single jar now, right? And was a concern. Like, you're going to make every single jar a pain in the ass to open? Sure as hell, every single jar is a pain in the ass to open now, right? Like, literally. So, yeah, maybe we will have some kind of different after. But if it's something as simple as, what's the word? Like, how we had polio and the plague and stuff, and then something happened, we figured out vaccinations, and now we don't have those things anymore. If this forces a bunch of people to think about something and so many resources to be spent so that they can actually accomplish, and they figure out, oh, if you do this upside down, it just goes away forever. Maybe we end viruses after all this. So it's possible that we're going to have a 12 Monkeys, but it's just as possible we'll have a Star Trek where we don't even worry about viruses anymore. Because all you got to do is build a thing that looks like the door to a freezer section of a Costco, where it blows the air at you as you walk through, except that it blows ionized zinc particles at you, and laying those on your skin is enough to absorb in and kill this. And then we kill everyone, and we remove it like we did malaria or something. Or did we get rid of malaria? What's something we got rid of? We get rid of it like something else we got rid of.
Polio.
Polio, thanks. So I don't know. I think it is too early to say, but I think there's just as much potential. We've eradicated diseases. We've eradicated the plague. We've eradicated polio. We've eradicated smallpox. And you
Well,
can
yeah,
say,
have you ever watched a documentary on polio about like the old iron lungs they had and all the people like, and like there was like a whole thing of like industry being motivated to make these iron lungs and to find a cure and a vaccine, and I mean, like the whole world was fighting that, right? So
yeah, and this is an opportunity, and we can work together like never before. Like there's,
and
when you talk about language barriers, gone. Computers, like tech barriers, gone. Like social barriers, gone. Weird, like I don't like him because he's fat or skinny or touches people differently. Like all that shit's leaving. Like we're in a whole different environment, and dudes are winging spaceships with cars on them up into space on a whim. You know what I mean? Like we could get through all this and go like, wow, we eradicated that disease really quick. Why don't we just really quick go to Mars, solve the idea of like a meteor hitting us, and jump over to the moon real quick at the same time? Like who knows how fast we start to develop. Maybe this is, I don't know, maybe this is some kind of a turning point in a positive way, where we all figure out wars were stupid. Look at all the money we spent on guns, and not guns, but stupid stuff like nuclear bombs and shit. And turn all that stuff. Maybe you can just walk up next to a nuclear bomb and this cures it. Or they take apart a nuclear bomb and turn it into a nuclear health bubble, and you walk in there and come out cured on the other side. All right, now I'm getting tired and sleepy. It's malaria med and ZPK or something. Zinc perchloride calyphiform. I think that's what that stands for. Morning. Even if they find something works, there's still the issue of supply. It's a worldwide problem. It is. Unless they figure out the cure is to like go outside in the morning and stand upside down. Something easy that everybody can do.
One thing that I heard on the news that I'm guessing is true is that it basically infects your lungs and creates this thick mucus layer over your lungs, right? And then you can't get oxygen into your lungs. To drink a whole bunch of hot liquids. They were saying that's how they're like trying to fight it in China, and like that seems to be helping. So like even if it's just hot water, tea, soup, coffee, that kind of stuff, is supposed to help break that down and keep it, the infection from, I guess, spreading from your, I guess it starts in your throat and then moves to your lungs.
Yeah, or maybe like you're saying, like that has probably something to do with keeping the lung cavity humid or hot or something, a little bit higher than normal or something. And if they figure out like, oh, we can, 3D print these little funnels and send everybody these little things in the mail, and then at home you go make up a thing of hot water and you pour this over it and you put this in your mouth and then breathe in 6 times, and you do that 5 times, and then you take this other stuff and wipe it on your forehead, and if it comes out blue, then you're not a carrier anymore. What if it's something simple like that everybody can just kind of get delivered? I mean, that's the kind of result that I'm sure people are searching for, seeking out. Take care of the home first, and then the neighbors. That's what everybody's doing. And we've got China is already on the decline. I mean, China doesn't even need money. They don't have crime over there. They got through this stuff. They're got cities of the future, so that helped them get through this whole thing. So the ones that are they're on the, and they'll be able to start sending out those masks to help other people. Masks that they don't want anymore. $0.99. Holy moly. Makes you want to go drive around. Makes me want to go drive around. Nowhere to go, though. Do you think hotels are open? They're not essential, are they? I've never heard anybody. We don't have anybody in our groups that works at a hotel, I don't think. Do you know, are hotels open?
I have no clue.
I don't either. And I was thinking, let's say I lived in my van. What the hell would you do if you lived in your van? Like, you're not allowed to leave. Well, you're already in your van, so you're already in a parking lot. What are you supposed to be doing? Certainly can't prep. Well, you can't prep much. And there's people that don't live in awesome vans. There's people that have to live in cars and station wagons and things like that that are just living like that. Which is one of the things that got me thinking about volunteering. Because again, there's got to be people out there that aren't just like, oh, okay, I'll take a month off and wait for my government check and eat out of my pantry and watch TV and play video games and talk to people on the internet when I feel like it. And that's, remember Bush? Wasn't it the first Bush, Old Man Bush, 1,000 Points of Light? I wish I'd see a little bit more of that out there. Like you might be doing fine, but food bank, maybe it's time to clean through the pantries or whatever. We're going to send, we can make a delivery, they post, what's the mailbox guys, every once in a while, they'll do the thing where you leave canned foods out there. I don't want to give them more work right now, but you could be something like, give us a call and we'll have somebody like an opposite of an Uber where they come pick up food you don't need, like you bought too much, or turns out the kids don't like this Thai macaroni, and you can donate it to people that need it right now, redistribute. It's got to be stuff like that happening, and focus on that. It's got to be beneficial, not just for the organizations or people that need the benefit of those organizations, but then just for maybe therapeutic for the people that might be focused on the craziness. I guess I'm going to continue before we head out of here. It's right about 2 hours. Still got some people watching, so I'm going to keep going with this list just so that it's not, if people are listening to this or whatever, I have been posting these on iTunes. So if you're listening to these on iTunes, it'd be great if you leave us a comment on iTunes, but I'm not even competing on iTunes anymore. I just did it as a convenience. If you are listening on iTunes, email me directly or contact us on the YouTube channel or something, because you're not going to get a hold of me on iTunes. I just let the stuff get piped over there. But I figured it was definitely an appropriate time if people are using iTunes as their method of delivery. It would give them the opportunity. To be honest, I don't remember how many other streams I have it focused or pointed out to. So there might be other places out there that you're listening to this, and the same thing is the case. I'm not paying attention to those end sources, whatever they were set up before. I don't even remember what they are. So if you want to contact us directly, contact the show on YouTube or us in an email. But so that if in case there are people out there, I'm going to keep going. The next part of the helpguide.org page that I'm looking at that basically is about how to deal with the anxiety of this whole stressful time. Talks about, in this next section, talks about taking care of your body and spirit. And it says, be kind to yourself. Has a bunch of bullet points. Be kind to yourself. Maintain a routine as best you can. Take time out for activities you enjoy. Get out in nature. Find ways to exercise. Avoid self-medicating and take up a relaxation practice. So I don't know about that one, but I think we addressed a lot of these really. One of the things, being kind to yourself, I kind of talked about it, but what do you think about everybody who's still out here participating in this thing? Whatever it is you prepped, food-wise, cigarettes, booze, whatever it is that you might have prepped that's a consumable, or maybe even non-perishable stuff, but like magazines or I don't know, like actual physical stuff, like if the lights go out, if you got batteries and stuff. Are you appreciating anything differently? Are you reevaluating any of your strategies? I'm noticing that, like, if I did my pure, like, what I think, if I had to write down what I would prep, there probably wouldn't have been potato chips in there, and that would have sucked. I would have hated to go on a month without potato chips or something, like, is there something like that that at this point in the process you're able to identify as like a learning point that's worth bringing up? Anyone? Anyway, I noticed it when I was like, like the stores are full of chips and snacks and sodas, like you were saying, tons, every soda's there. I'm wondering if people are just sitting around drinking water, or if people are using this as like, since it's a health thing, I'm not eating those chocolate covered peanut butter crisps. I'm going to eat, cabbage and celery or something. Maintaining a routine. And that's something I was thinking as I skimmed through this before. Some of these, at least, are are what you have to do when you work at home. So I'm wondering how much of an opportunity it is for people that work at home to offer strategies and stuff to people that aren't used to working at home. Because there's a whole bunch of people that work at home, in the before. And some of these things that are strategies like dealing with your schedule and making sure you don't fart around basically all day, making sure you don't burn yourself out working all the time either, are the same kind of strategies that, for stress or whatever, they're the same kind of strategies we use for just making sure we actually get work done and don't burn ourselves out getting too much work done constantly. Because when you can wake up and you're at work, I've been dealing with that for a long time now. So I'm going to go back up here. Wish it was $1 a gallon. This is not going to end until a herd immunity gets built up. It'll take a long time. The Hydra blah, blah, blah might save lives, though. It's not a cure-all. It's not a cure, for sure. I don't think anybody suggests that. But it's all about, you're right, like how many people just don't actually perish during the worst part of their condition, like when they're having their lungs fill up or whatever happens. It's a bad time to be maxed out on credit cards, 2 checks away from risking everything. People better smart up and have that money when it's due, or the banks are going to have a field day. I hear you. However, I'm there. I live there. I'm already way behind. I'm just not too concerned, because we're like, who's going to take it and where are they going to take it to? When the whole world is taking a knee, I'm not too concerned. I'm not happy about it, and I'm not looking forward to it. But I hear you. It's not the condition I'd like to be in, but I think a lot of people are going to reevaluate when we can. There's nothing I can do about it right now. At least I don't think I can do much about it right now, but I definitely think a lot of people are going to reevaluate it. It's not a fun time to be. I'm sure a lot of people are not as stressed out. If you've got a couple of months worth of, what's it called, buffer or like savings or rainy day savings, like this has got to be different than.
Now's a great time to actually refinance your house, your car, stuff like that. They're giving all sorts of incentives. The government has done a big thing to, to help lower the interest rates, the banks. So if you're stuck in a high interest rate right now, there's all sorts of incentives going on. Plus, we're getting that like $1,000 or whatever it is from the government here soon, which we'll probably end up having to pay back in our taxes, but they're going to send it to us no matter what. So,
Yeah. Like I say, that's the difference. If it was you were just in a state or in a region or in a city or something, like a few, like even a segment of the population was affected somehow, then you're a single in a many, we're all just living life. It's different than when we all have to stop and rest at the same time. It's like if you're running a race and everybody had, what was I using these analogies? I think it's like if we're all running a race and we all got rained out, it's not the same as if you're running a race and you get tired and stop running. Everybody else wins the race and you're dead or you're stopped. That's over. But in this case, the race got rained out and everybody's taking shelter. It's going to be a different race. We're going to come back in and have to pick it back up, but that's more the scenario, right? People think the current measure is to prevent this. It's not. It's to slow the spread to hospitals. I don't know if I think people are getting more educated. I don't know if I agree with the first part of this, that people think the current measure is to prevent it. But I agree. I think that we're saying the same thing. It's designed to just stop how much of a rush the hospitals get all at once so that fewer people die or whatever, so that the resources get distributed. But I don't think it's inevitable that you get that sick either, of course. It's just some people are going to get to that level, and that's the critical time when you need those resources. And I don't know if they're vaccines as much as the stuff they're talking about. That combo is just some way to alleviate the symptoms of someone who has it, right? It's not like you take those things and you don't get it. It's just that I think they were saying that if there was 600 people that were sick with the corona and they took that stuff, then they survived. It's not that they they never got the corona. But again, because we don't have any single source, would you trust any single source? I mean, we already don't trust. So I guess we were looking at a couple of things that are suggested to be single sources, but I don't think anybody would trust a single source anyway. I think it's a good thing that we have freedom to be confused, and we have freedom to be fucked with, and we have freedom to have to go figure out what's right, because it makes us stronger. It makes the truth, fight. It makes the truth stronger. It's like a tree that grows inside of a greenhouse versus a tree that grows in the wind and elements. We don't want to be the wimpy little tree that looks good but doesn't actually work. Maybe it produces a different kind of fruit than it should, but it's fall over if the fruit actually was left to gravity. We'd rather be that tree that grows outside and grows whatever gnarly apples it's supposed to have on it. Fall over if the fruit actually was left. Oops. Since that horse didn't say anything, it automatically means he agrees with me.
What?
Make sure to give those critical care patients a good chance. Yeah, I think I'm saying that. Hot liquids won't do anything. A virus is in your cells. It's going to replicate unless you do something to destroy it. I think we're not talking.
No, it's not to prevent it. It's to, once you already fucking have it, to stay alive.
It's to prevent the mucus from getting in your lungs so much. It's to alleviate those symptoms or issues, right? It's not to cure the virus or anything.
Yeah, no. It's.
Let's see. Good point, but having had a cold recently, the buildup was reduced. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about. It's basically clearing sinuses or whatever, helping straff off that layer of filth. Eat or starve, damn it. We're in hard times. Okay. In the van, hopefully you have the ability to make soup and heat up water. I guess with a propane tank and a mini stove. What about refrigerating leftover soup? I don't know.
If you have a little kettle, you could easily find a place in your engine compartment to set that thing and drive down the road and then stop. I don't know, but guys back, it used to be a thing that rat rods and hot rodders, it used to be a thing to cook on your motor. You guys might not remember it. Some of you might not remember that back in the day, on the old fashioned air cleaners and stuff, but that used to be a real thing. You can totally boil water and cook food off the motor of your car.
But that does require that you're driving it around, which could cost money.
Yeah, it does. But if you're already heading somewhere and you need to boil some water or make some eggs.
Well, you're right. And here's the thing. I was looking at I was looking at an ambulance. I don't remember. I was either looking at an ambulance that was converted into, I think it was an ambulance that was converted into a camper, or basically a vehicle that was for research or something, some kind of maybe a university or school or somebody built it. So it was designed to be a comfortable environment for somebody who's monitoring something that they drive this thing somewhere. So anyway, it was self-contained like a camper would be. And it had a heat transfer between the engine oil, I guess, probably. Maybe the engine oil came out to this block, and then water from the hot water heater was pumped through this block, heat transfer block. And then they said that the water tank would get hot from just driving the engine. I don't know if it was the transmission fluid now or if it was the engine oil. I don't know if it would make a difference. But anyway, it was something heat from the engine was brought over, led to distribute or lose heat into the hot water heater water. And then, but with a heat transfer block. And then they said that they rarely needed to turn on their hot water heater because it got hot enough and then stayed hot enough because it was an insulated hot water heater or a thermal tank or whatever they call it, insulated hot water heater in a vehicle. So that could be a thing. Have some sort of, basically you would just take a big steel block with a bunch of tubes going one way, and then without touching them, tubes going the other way, so that the block can get super hot, and then run your hot water heater through one side or your hot water through one side and your engine fluid through the other side. Every time you drive your engine, it warms. Probably have it. I guess you could probably make some kind of a physical thing that as it got hot, it would pump, so that you wouldn't need a mechanical pump. Or am I crazy? Something that as the water heated, it would pump itself? Or that would require a pressurized water tank, I guess. But anyway, you just get a water pump the water through that block. So anyway, I would not want to be in a van no matter what. That's all just Bob theoretical rambling. This ain't a restaurant. Okay. Or refrigerating the ingredients before making the soup. Maybe living in a van isn't fun or spouse about that. No.
Learning how to can right now. I think my wife started canning stuff a while back, but like I guess all the canning supplies are also sold out everywhere. So a whole bunch of people are probably learning how to can right now.
And that would have been something to prep. Just jars and
Yeah.
lids, and there's probably a couple of things like what's out acids or vinegars or some kind of stuff that you use a lot, or some kind of cleaner maybe.
I saw Muscle Dog Mafia had a post on Instagram a while back about saving your cooking oils. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's weird to me. He's weird for some of his stuff, but obviously we almost eat 100% different. He now eats one, like, almost all meat meal a day, and I eat multiple non-meat meals. You know what I mean? It's like we're literally opposite on almost everything. But I did see that post. Yeah.
Well,
Just
that oil can be used as a preservative and like all sorts of things, right? Like
for non-edible things, yes,
yeah,
but for
yeah,
eating it again, hell no. No, I
yeah,
would never.
not for eating it.
Like making it into like chili where it just keeps, or like a stew that you just keep adding to, and I'm like, no, not with animal fat. I'll turn it into a candle or something, or some kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'll repurpose it.
But no, that's interesting, and that's something that again, people are going to have a month. They're hopefully not going to be too wigged out. I'm going to get off of this picture of her sneezing. I guess we don't need to be looking at her sneezing all night. I'd rather look at words. Let's see if there's something cool over here. Some family having fun. Some weird, stupid puzzle. Nah, we'll look at words. Yeah, hopefully people will come up with new skill sets or interests, right? Maybe things they didn't even know about. The logarithm's going nuts. And here's a trick. I've said this a couple of times on different shows, but when I go to YouTube, when you go to the main page of YouTube, there's some 3 little dots like this. And when you see they like it all, or just don't, for some reason you don't like it, just let YouTube know and let the logarithm know. It'll never show you that kind of video again. And the stuff that it
Yeah, the
replaces,
not interested thing.
yeah, it's awesome because it basically rolls a dice and just throws you the weirdest stuff because it doesn't know what you want instead yet. So I really have finding that a lot of fun. And it was mainly because some YouTube channel came up, like one of the big gun YouTube channels, and I'm like, I don't care about it. I don't want to see a stupid video. And I was like, oh, look, I can tell it to not show me this channel again. I'd never done that before. And then when I did that, I figured out you can also say, don't show me, what does it say? Something like, I don't want to see stuff like this, or don't show me this kind of video, or something like that. And because okay, so let's talk about that next. Because there's a lot of manipulation going on out there, and I am sick of being manipulated by it. So we're just going to go to main YouTube and see what it starts showing me. It's going to be weird stuff, probably. Here's because I've been looking at how fake some of these videos are. So have you seen these videos where they're like, oh, if you brush your teeth with like a hot glue gun and your shoes are cleaner, like just come up with the dumbest shit, and crack an egg, and then if it catches on fire, then you can make toothpaste out of it. Like they just come up with these stupid little project crafts. It's all manipulative, dude. This is not the same video I was looking at, but this channel, How to Cook That, is a different channel who debunks. So their whole channel is debunking one of the largest channels on YouTube. So they're obviously making 3 million views in a month. So they're doing all right. But one of these things was pumped to me for whatever reason. And I used to watch these stupid videos because I thought they were funny or whatever. So once I watched this, I figured out that these are engineered. These videos are completely engineered and created. This little thumbnail is not accidental at all. And it is intentional. And they're making a shit ton of money doing this. And they're manipulating other things. So that got me aware of it. And like I say, I've been going in, I can show you now. There's this little thing here. Like, I hate this guy. I would never want to watch this. Like, I don't know why it's sending me this. So don't recommend channel or not interested. I don't really care about the channel, but now I'm never going to see stuff like that, or at least it'll start to tune it in, right? It's showing me this history thing I've never seen before, some kind of DIY, like that kind of stuff I'll watch. But I'm not going to watch it from a channel with 1 million views anymore. Anyway, so you've ever seen Smarter Every Day?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, so he just did this one. It's already got 500,000 views in 5 days. 500,000 views in 5 days, 100,000 views a day. He's a huge channel. But anyway, he talks about, I can't show it, I guess, because of this. This one is also amazing. This is a hour-long video where he walks through the factory where they make all the rockets for going into space. Really, really cool. And it's the only time anyone's ever got an opportunity to go through that factory. Really, really, really neat. Totally worth watching. This one, though, is a 30-minute video, and I've already talked about on this show before the 3 that he did about YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook, going in and talking to the people about security and the bots and the ways that people are manipulating the social media platforms, using the logarithms, either for profit or for manipulating either politics or other social shit. And this goes into more of that for 20 minutes. And he goes in and he talks to people who work at Reddit, who like are Reddit, you know, the people who run at Reddit basically, or that, you know, the infrastructure of Reddit, I should say. And then he talks to different people who monitor both social and then like technical areas of just watching the internet. People with like, you know, that work for brain power, you know, what do they call that thing? Brain trusts, where they, you know, are doing things for the greater good that are kind of not necessarily on everybody's radar. He goes in and talks to these people as experts and talks about how, again, sort of the same thing as I was talking about with those engineered videos, how there's just a relatively few people who are literally manipulating so much of this stuff. And when I say how they're manipulating so much of this stuff, when you go to YouTube and type in there like how to make money on YouTube, or type in there like how to sell stuff on Facebook or something, and it'll start to explain, if you're a business and you've got a thing to sell or a service to offer, like how you would go about creating your ads and how you would, you know, do all the different elements of creating it. And as you learn this stuff, you'll figure out there's great power. These things are very, very, very powerful, able to take, you know, if you're selling a t-shirt that's a little bulldog sipping tea, you know, on a bicycle in Paris, how you can get that to people that really, really care about those 4 things. And the internet's so good that it can get you to those 4 people who buy shirts and haven't bought a shirt in 3 weeks. And you know what I mean? Like if you pay them enough money, they'll find those people and they'll be like, these people are probably about to buy a shirt, and you hit every one of their things. And what's worse is you can figure out how to ask the internet in certain ways what people are about to buy a refrigerator, what people are about to buy a computer, which people are about to make a purchase decision, and then how many of them are there. And now I'll make my content to cater to that. And that's where I think it gets super crazy. But anyway, you get in there and you figure out, like, you know, how these systems work. And it's pretty evident that they'll do things to make it difficult, but they're just machines, they're mechanisms. So as soon as you got the intention of screwing with the mechanism, it's possible to understand how to screw with the mechanism. And it's possible to screw with the mechanism. And once you've done that, they can do all kinds of things, but the mechanism is still the mechanism. So you can make a mouse trap, and you can be a clever mouse, and you can watch enough mice get hit by a mouse trap that you can figure out how to defeat the mouse trap and get that cheese. And then somebody can watch you defeat that enough times, and then they'll change it. And then you'll watch them change it, and you'll do some different strategy, and it'll go back and forth. But it remains a mouse trap. And that's what we're talking about here. So one way to get rid of it is just quit using the fucking mouse trap. Quit using YouTube. Quit using Facebook. Quit using these platforms that can be manipulated, and just have regular conversations. And this is an illustration of a frustration that I've had for years. One of the reasons I built gun channels in the first place. One of the reasons I have 350 websites dozens of years later. They cost me a shit ton of money. I'm financially crippled because I still own them, because I think they're valid. I think having gun information that's ours on the internet that has nothing to do with YouTube. I haven't been helped or assisted by YouTube or Google or any of that shit ever, like literally ever, since 2004 when I was blacklisted from YouTube for being a gun topic. I knew back then that depending on the giant platforms to do something as important as Second Amendment would be unstrategic. So that's the thing that it's interesting now that we're seeing the results of the fascination we have and the dependence we've created on the platforms on the internet. You know, YouTube isn't the fucking internet. Facebook isn't the internet. The internet is the internet. This conversation that we're having with the dwindling number of people that want to listen to me talk about this stuff, those are the human beings that are on the internet. All that other stuff just facilitates sales and advertising and interesting metrics and stuff. But the pieces that we need here are in these conversations and stuff. Anyway, so I'll quit ranting. Now that we've got 5 people watching, people are sick of me hearing about all my crazy ideas that we shouldn't be on Facebook and YouTube. But anyway, I wanted to talk about Smarter Every Day and the fact that there are people that are manipulating this whole thing. And this video happens to be made in the midst of this whole thing. But go watch those other 3 that are about YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And they are about way before this happened. They're about this concept, though. So knowing that there's people out there that are able and have, for a long time now been manipulating our stuff, and they have an interest in political, messing with us politically as well as financially. In other words, they're interested in screwing with us as well as making money. It's not super nefarious. They're not trying to take over the world, I don't think, or at least they haven't yet. But they are content with bringing a bunch of flash mob of conservatives on one side of the street and bringing a flash mob of liberals on the other side of the street, and then creating the situation where they hate each other. Like, that's funny to them to create that from the other side of the planet. That's literally a thing that they demonstrate in these videos, like how that's literally has happened. So knowing that that can happen, we need to start not just being skeptical of each other, but able to differentiate between a human being and a non-human being. So anyway, this stuff is super neat and it's critical as far as if we're gonna get through this as far as Star Trek, or if we're gonna get through this as like the 12 Monkeys and paranoia route. But we got all the people in the world on both sides. I don't think it's inevitable one way or the other. You're certainly not gonna talk me into saying it's inevitable one way or the other. Just a matter of how we all balance it, right? Well, I shouldn't say it right because I don't think anybody's listening anymore. I am quite a bit behind in the chat. Half an hour behind in the chat. I don't even know if I should bother keeping up. We're down to 6 people listening. I'll just drop down to the bottom and see if anybody's even still out there. What are we talking about? Deal with what happens as it comes, expect to pay more in the end. I don't know. Like I say, I'm hoping that we're going to see our distribution channels, our Walmart, the AI that runs Walmart's brain that makes it so that they can be as efficient as they can be. We're going to see that brain get smarter, and the people that program it figure out that there's other things. And if they're building something in, like after Y2K, they didn't just fix the Y2K, the 4-digit year thing. They went ahead and said to themselves, oh snap, what other fundamental issues are there that could be scalable in time that we're not paying attention to? And it made them reevaluate things from a different big ass perspective. So everything that gets fixed, everything that gets rebuilt from all this is going to have that bigger perspective now, and collaboration like never before. There's so much open source, there's so much influence people got by just going online and seeing stuff and then going to work and mentioning it tomorrow. It's just amazing the amount of collaboration and that kind of stuff that'll potentially be in all this one. Let's see. Did click on some weird vids. I don't know who that is. Whatever you do click on, though, if you click on it twice, you're definitely going to see more of that stuff. So be careful. And with that in mind, just just go to a different browser or something, right? So I guess there's a couple people still listening. Thanks. I've had 2 strikes way often. For an entire year, I was on 2 strikes because I would have a strike and then I got my second strike, and then the first one would go away and I'd get a second one again. And one would lay off. I don't think I went, one time I went like 3 or 4 days and I got my second strike back. And then I went like 3 weeks or something, I got my second strike, and then I couldn't do nothing about it. I started getting strikes for videos that were private, that were years old. So they were offline and no one could even see them, and I was still getting strikes. So that it was either growing pains on YouTube or somebody literally going out to get me. There's lots of people that want to be the biggest tower by knocking down all the other towers, not by growing theirs bigger, right? So there's that potential, I guess. You never know. So, going backwards through the comments is a no-win because any kind of conversations, you're seeing them like weird backwards. Okay, I think this is where we were. Stocked up on beer in Copenhagen. That's the thing. Not knowing when to stock up for like an actual long term, but you're on the road, so potentially you can resupply at work or on the way home from work or something, right? And that's again why it's a little different than if this was like a war scenario where we wouldn't have resupplies coming. It's an what's the word? A self-induced quarantine type of thing. It's not like a mandatory. So it's because it's not 100%, stuff will still get distributed. We don't need a black market. It won't be like people running blockades and stuff. It'll just be a different, slowed down, abbreviated distribution pattern for a bit. Small generator, all that stuff costs money though. I guess you save so much money not having a rent that this is where you pay off when you live in a vehicle. What I do with the toilet paper is I'm making a lot of paper mache projects now. So I'm taking a lot of that toilet paper and I throw it immediately into water and let it turn into a pulp. Sure, I could buy the pulp over at Michael's, but I like it better when it comes from a roll. So I like to take the toilet paper and make different kind of paper mache projects with it. One of the things I am going to do though is make a paper mache truck. So in honor of all the truckers that are bringing the toilet paper out. Thing is, I want it to be impressive, so I'm going to need a lot of toilet paper. I want to make it life size. I want to make it the size of a truck.
Well, I had a revelation earlier today. I even made a post about it on Instagram. But you know, I finally know how they got the 3 seashells in Demolition Man, like how they got to that point. Like it all makes sense now.
Oh, I thought you were going to say how to use them. You're saying how it evolved to that.
Oh no, like there's been stuff on how to use them online forever. But like how did they get to the point to where they're like, no, like we're gonna use seashells? Like this was Yep.
It all supposed to be like you used them and you would flush them and then they would be washed and returned to you somehow or something like that, right?
Yep.
Weird. If one of them was a regular seashell and then one was like a softer, like rubber seashell, and then one was like some other kind of seashell, maybe that's the way they do it. Like different kinds of seashells.
I don't know. In the picture, it looks like they're all 3 the same. In the movie.
Hopefully, you'll appreciate the giant toilet paper mache homage I'll make to the truckers that brought me the toilet paper that I can make it out of. Bet the average person is stressing bad and arguing more with their partners. People love fighting about money. Yeah, I don't even know. Hopefully, I don't know. I really don't know. I can't imagine. We're going to know at the end of it all.
No, that's when the wife's like, I want to learn how to reload my own ammo. And that's when, and that's when the husband's like, I want to learn how to can food. And then you share those skills between each other. Yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like they both appreciate each other's skill sets and have time to share and in a constructive way prep at the same time and have some like physical therapy, like literally doing something that's constructive.
Yeah, because your significant other might not always be there or whatever, and you never know like what's going to happen down the road. So why not get that firsthand knowledge and time together? And
Oh, that's super interesting. I'm glad you brought that up too, because of course, when I'm looking at this, I'm selfish like everybody. So I'm looking at it from my circumstances, like how an individual would be reacting to all of this, but it must be 1,000 times different for a couple. And then you hear jokingly all the time about the kids, but it's got to be rough for some people or crazy weird for some people to just, have a weird, different situation for so long. And the kids are having a different situation. So now it's different for everybody in whole different ways. Yeah, great point. But hopefully they're not fighting too much about money because luckily the government's going to save us and we're all going to get more money than we even need. Start thinking about how you're going to buy stuff from gearwebsites.com. I wish I could refinance my house. I doubt they want to reevaluate a home loan after only 6 months. I'm thinking same thing. Enough people are going to be able to reevaluate or refinance their homes though, that I don't disagree. I don't disbelieve in trickle down. I believe that we live in an environment with other people, and if some people do good, they don't throw their money into a paper shredder. When they do good, they invest in a bank, or they either put their money in the bank, which then invests it in the market, or they invest it in the market. But either way, when you have money, you either put it underneath a mattress or it's in the market. And once it's in the market, it's being used for loans, and it's going out to companies to use for things, and it's being paid, and it's getting earning interest, and it's making money. If they put it underneath the mattress, I guess, hopefully if they put it underneath the mattress, then at least they're going to the store and buying like the name brand Lucky Charms instead of the Mighty Mates that I'm fucking eating. And they're keeping some different people employed, but who really cares? I don't think, I think we're just going to see some people make some real scratch out of this, and then we'll just see more money smoothing around. Of course, there's a lot of people losing everything, right? So it's not all optimistic, not crazy. That sucks. Do you lose a lot if you put it in the market? No. You almost always gain, at least historically, unless you can pick somebody who didn't, but you know, most of the time, most people gain over time. Everything is on hold. They're offering great deals, but at some point the bill will be due. I mean, what you mean. If jobs don't pick back up or people get hired, then it's going to be an issue. What are you going to say?
I'm just really curious at how many more people start to become just a little bit more self-sufficient, that start to have, you know, little gardens in their backyard, and you know, maybe some sort of livestock animal or two, or a fruit tree, or just, you know, rainwater collection, or
all
you know,
these
just
all these hashtags blessed, like hashtag I wear a lumberjack shirt, and like, you know, I handcraft my whatever, my like trapper keeper or whatever. Like, yeah, those people are dying to start gardens and to, you know, have like a windowsill or a balcony or a porch or a backyard.
what about just like a lawyer or doctor or some, you know, person like that? I bet you there's people out there like who had like never gardened a day in his life right now, right? But he's probably think like he's going to the store and having a hard time getting stuff, and is like, hey, you know what? Maybe like now's the time to learn how to do a little garden.
You know it, dude. Well, you're talking to the wrong person, because I've thought this way since this when I was a little kid. But you know, I definitely agree with you. And people eat garbage. We eat like whatever it would be called, like, you know, vinyl food. We eat like fake synthetic foods. Like once people start figuring out what a real something tastes like with basil on it, or what a cherry tomato tastes like when it comes out of the other windowsill, instead of, you know, was able to be made in Mexico and got to you at some point, you know, and stayed on the shelf long enough that that big pile of them finally was still good by the time you got it. And you think it's any different going to a restaurant? Like people think that the food they're eating is somehow different at a restaurant. It's the same, you know, stuff that has to last on a truck. So there's a big difference between eating a real tomato and eating a tomato out of a thing. So eating a fresh tomato from the store versus a fresh tomato from your garden. Once people appreciate that again, and everything, I mean, think about it, 3D printing, a billion times easier than it could have ever been before. Home, anything you can think of that you could do at your home is a million times easier. Gardening is the same way. Like compared to when I was a youngin', I went to school for basically. I went to school and I had to take a bunch of plant classes. So back then, you know, I was aware of like trying to buy like something to start a garden, or to grow inside, or grow in an apartment or something like that, like on a porch or a balcony or in a windowsill, that kind of thing. It was like maybe something at like a catalog store, you know, like what your grandma would get in a catalog, like here's a little plastic cup or something with some seeds in it, and you just go, and maybe even had like a little thing of potting soil. It was basically garbage compared to now, and people like, you know, that are actual, instead of somebody who says, here's a thing I can produce and sell it and market it in such a way. Instead, now somebody who actually is a gardener says, oh, you mean I can sell these online also? And they just, or maybe just show people how to do it online. Yeah, I agree. I think people are going to be super self-sufficient. And there's so much more you can do, like composting and water collection. And
Well,
And it's
can you imagine how many more, like how much like probably views have gone up on everything on YouTube, right?
I hope so.
Like on every like news channel, on every network, every movie
I
channel,
was
Netflix.
thinking about, like DIY and stuff. You're talking in general views, probably.
Well, yeah, no, I'm talking DIY too, but you know, like generally too, but especially the DIY videos, right? Like, cause there's like the Tiny House Nation. There's all sorts of documentaries on Netflix and stuff, and you know, gardening and stuff like that, right? And agriculture, and so I bet you that the people are just watching all sorts of stuff like that right now. And
Well, like I say, I really hope so, but I haven't. I don't know how to determine it or not. But I would love to think.
is this going to be like? I don't think this is anywhere near the point of like the Great Depression, right? Yet, right? Like nothing like that. But do you think that it would just that it's gotten like to the point to where even if we, you know, like if everything returns back to normal, let's say in a couple weeks or a month, do you think that it like kind of scared everyone enough to kind of have that? I don't know, like so I know you're old enough to probably remember your grandparents that lived through the Great Depression and the way that they acted and probably doing weird stuff like tearing a piece of toast in half, right? And like you know that kind of mentality, right? Like were your grandparents like that?
Yeah, I think it's an appreciation. It's not just the knowledge, but you're right. Like just the ingrained knowledge that you don't get to eat as many toasts as you want in every morning. You're lucky to get toast sometimes. Period. So yeah, like little things like my grandma would just eat the hell out of a piece of chicken, and I'm like, what the hell, grandma? Eat another piece of chicken, and it's just her way. You know, she just ate the hell out of it. But that's because they lived through stuff that's crazy compared to what we've ever had to live through. So I don't know. I think that I agree. I think you're asking to what level, I don't know, but I think if you're asking just, is this a did it reach the event?
A wake up call?
Did it reach the level that it's a wake up call? Yes. How much of a wake up call, I guess, is to be determined, but there's no doubt that this is, you know, if there's like things like 9/11 and the Cold War and World War II, this is a thing already. Like there's no way that this is getting forgotten. People are always going to consider this the Corona of 2020, and hopefully it's not the last time we had color television or something. But you know, they'll definitely get back to something, but it'll always be post-Corona, right? It'll be pre-Corona, post-Corona. I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
But now, as far as like how much of people will take it, I think it kind of depends. And I mean, we're definitely we're definitely seeing exponential. We don't have to get into it to know. We all know what exponential is and where we're at on that exponential. So the question is how much of a ride are we going on here? And it's going to get crazy. So people aware of what we're about to get on, and people that think that it's like a little baby ride or something, you know, we're about to get tossed around like the worst roller coaster ever. And how we come out of that is the question. Like if we come out broken and torn, then it's different than if we come out stronger and resilient, I guess, right? If we come out of this hurricane with down branches and stuff, who knows what the tree's going to look like. If we come out just a lot stronger, then yeah, we're gonna. I would suspect. The thing is, we come from pretty, for the most part, the people that have been here through the wars and through the depression, like their families have been here that long. They come from those people, literally, right? And the people that haven't been here that long, I don't want to say all of them, but at least a portion of them come from countries where they had to deal with shit and they got here and they appreciate it. So I think that we're a different nation than others in the fact that we come from people that have already dealt with shit. So we've appreciated it to some level. At least our families have appreciated it and came here as a alternative to or lived here through, right? Am I crazy? Like you say, the Mormons, I mean, they
no,
were
I see that. I see where you know, what's the thing? Give us you're tired, you're weak, you're poor, right? Like we're that country, right? So yeah, we're pretty tough.
Yeah, we're not the miserable, like, give us all these people and then give us a handout because we can't do nothing. We're like, give us all that and we'll still do okay and not be dicks for the most part.
And I think the people who this I don't even know what this generation's called now. Like what's the new generation called? Z or what? I don't even know.
I call
But,
it Zoom bug 'em, but I don't think it bugs them.
But this new generation, I think it's going to toughen them up a little bit and make them think. And I think it's going to change some attitudes. I'm hoping, and they're not going to be so willy nilly about everything. You know.
So it's interesting. Guy is saying he went to watch after me talk about that Smarter Every Day. I think he's saying video series, but the bastard I suspect might be responsible. Oh, he can't show guns on live streams. Yeah, because of that thing he did with tracking the guns. I hear you, and I'm pretty sure you're right. And yeah, that's a fucking frustrating one. But I understand. That's a whole different.
You mean tracking the serial number database?
No. The same guy, Smarter Every Day, did a video a long time ago now. Seems like middle of last year, maybe, I think. At least I saw it a long time ago. It has to be a certain amount old. But I don't remember if I saw it when it was brand new or not. But anyway, I think it was his, he started it, but he went to some other guy and said, would you be able to do facial recognition on an object like a gun? And then they did this whole long video about, yeah, they can. And then it was like, dang it. And it wasn't looking at the serial numbers. It was just looking at the L-shaped thing in your hand, basically. And it wasn't perfect or nothing, but it could certainly detect, just like how when you have on Facebook or something, how doesn't Facebook show you everybody's face and who they are right away? Like it does that. Like as soon as you show a live stream and the guy was wiggling around, as soon as he pulled the gun out, it's focused on the gun like a Terminator movie. Focused on the gun, and the idea was to trigger it so that a security camera could see a gun. That was the concept, but like he's saying, they gave it to YouTube probably, or YouTube bought it or whatever, figured it out. I'm sure if they did it in front of YouTube, YouTube knows how to do it. I mean, they're not idiots. They invented half the shit we see on the web. So you can't really do something in front of somebody that knows how the internet works. They know how you did it, right? So they probably just put it on YouTube, and YouTube said, oh yeah, we can do that. Probably put a department into it or bought that. I don't know. But yeah, I think he might be responsible. I don't know if we should. Honestly, the point of it, like I say, is supposedly so kids don't do weird shit, and use YouTube to amplify it. Oh, you're saying he got 2 strikes. That's what I was saying. I thought you were talking about me getting 2 strikes. So you're saying he got 2 strikes because of having that video or something? And that's when I was asking if everybody was still awake or out there. We got more viewers since then, so that's weird. We got down to 5 viewers, then went up. Or maybe El Pato is telling me the wrong number over here. Now Gunstreamer has a weird plugin, so you can't really pipe over to Gunstreamer the same way you could before. Airlines go out of business? Hope not. I don't know if I'd want any airplanes. It costs too much to run them or maintain them. Back in the day, when I first moved out to Arizona or Tucson here, you've seen like Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man, that movie. They go around through the airplane graveyard.
Oh yeah.
There was 5 of those that were private, and you could just say, I'm going to go look around, and they'd go, okay, and you just park and walk around in there. And it was just like Harley Davidson, the Marlboro Man. You just walked around in that type of environment, and the planes would be sometimes on their wheels, but half the time they would be on their bellies because somebody took the wheels already or something, and they'd just be parts and pieces, and wing would be laying on the ground, just like in that movie. But super dangerous too. It's fun. And then most of the time it was just desert, so there wasn't too much grass and crap. But sometimes there was all grass and stuff around them, and you could just go grab like a instrument piece or a piece of lever or whatever the hell you wanted. I guess I don't know. I would sometimes buy stuff off of them, but mainly just go in there and fart around, right? And now they're all gone. But it would be neat to have a like the fuselage, like the main chunk of the plane on half of those old planes, just to have as a shed in your backyard. They'd be like the coolest shed ever, made out of aluminum or whatever. And then I imagine it would last a while. Maybe put it up on wood or something so it wouldn't be sitting right in the dirt. I don't know where you live.
Yeah.
I think that'd be cool as hell as a backyard shed. Or even just like a wing and make like a barbecue area or something on your porch or something out of a wing, like a giant wing. It'd be awesome. I don't know how you'd get a wing though. They're huge. They have Cocoa Puffs and Lucky Charms mixed in a bag now. Mixed in a bag together? It's interesting. Never heard of that. I have seen the bags of cereal that seem to be a massive ripoff to me. But that is how the only way you can get like marshmallow Fruit Loops. I've just been paying attention because they've gone nuts lately with the like brand, like the flavors of cereal.
Oh yeah, I remember the big thing was like what new marshmallow was going to be in Lucky Charms, and now they're like you got
like
candy bar flavors and like
yeah, every time I go to the store, I'm like, what does a new? And it bothers me because like there's always new cereals, or like maybe because I go to the dollar store, it's like whatever they're running out of somewhere or whatever isn't selling. Like we seem to get like a lot of weird things. I've been interested, so I've been, and they put them right at the front, so I can't help but notice. As soon as you walk in, you're looking at cereal, so it's like I see it all the time. Anyway, they keep showing they keep making, I think it's Cheerios makes powdered donut Cheerios. And I'm like, all right, whatever. It seems like it makes sense. But why don't they do a freaking chocolate donut? It bothers me that they only make powdered chocolate, they only make powdered sugar donut cereal instead of chocolate donut cereal. That's one of the reasons I've been paying attention. Once I see them make powdered or chocolate donut cereal, maybe I'll quit paying attention to the cereal so much. And now it's like apple crap, and like, who the hell wants to eat apple donut cereal? Make up your mind already. Like apple pie donut flavored cereal. Like, eat one of the three things, but not all three mixed together. Oh, that's the other option. You could buy the crap for growing like weed in your closet, and people would try to grow like a tomato or something in there. It didn't quite work very good. I like good tomato. I grew up though on we had like a big yard. Like we had rabbits, and the rabbits would poop into the place, and you'd scoop that up with a whole bunch of other lawn things, and that would compost, and then that would get spread out over the garden, and till the garden and fuck with it all year long or whatever. And then you get to the part where stuff started growing and fruiting, and then it would just be tons and tons and tons of stuff came out of there. My grandma would be jarring the hell out of stuff, and they'd be giving stuff to everybody, and it would be awesome. And that's when I started digging tomatoes, because you'd go out and have to go do stuff in the garden, but you could eat like a tomato or something, or eat like a piece of corn or whatever. Because I don't know, I don't think there was any chemicals on it back then. Not like today or nothing. So nobody ever cared if I just ate a tomato. But those tomatoes, like eating a tomato, do you call it room temperature when it's like a little bit warm, I guess, because the sun's been hitting it? It's not quite room temperature. It's not cold, but it ain't hot. But anyway, yeah, man, a real tomato, them big, giant red ones compared to anything you get at the store today. Same thing with strawberries. I don't even like strawberries, but strawberries, a real strawberries, red all the way through it. It's like a little tiny white in the middle. Nowadays, you get like a big white thing with a red skin around the outside. But yeah, tomatoes, I just happen to like tomatoes a lot. So I'm definitely a big, as much as Pink is into mushrooms, I'm into tomatoes. And you can do cherry tomatoes in like coffee cans and like a boot. You could take an old single boot. Like if you lost a boot, you could take the other one and put a cherry tomato in there. That's it, knock the stockpile 12 gauge. Do whatever Matt says. Only do what Matt says and do whatever Matt says. Always do what Matt says and don't ever do anything Matt doesn't say to do. It's always a good philosophy. My great grandmother carried a revolver because he had to protect your chickens from getting stolen. Crazy. You figure how many millions of the 25 ACP pocket Brownings were made? Those weren't being carried by only men. Let's see. We're way behind. A lot of chicken talk here. Is Gary aware of all this chicken stuff happening? Oh, what movie was I just watching? Oh, I was just watching Fifth Element. And there's a part in Fifth Element where he basically gets clubbed over the head with a participation trophy. Yep, I agree. And the composting is one of those things that you don't think about unless it gets a little bit tough because it's not like you need to compost. It's just that you can. And if you do, it makes your garden way better. And it takes something to get that whole cycle started. So what Dead Horse was saying, I certainly think we got a potential. It seems like the millennial generation, and I don't know about the new generation because they haven't done nothing good yet, but the millennials certainly seem interested in DIY and like doing their own working with their.
Think of how many Americans are so wasteful of their yards that have all this grass that doesn't really do anything for them, that are watering it 2 or 3 times a week, where they could be literally using that same amount of water watering crops and like growing. Like, do you know how much like food the average person could probably grow in their front and backyards, like the average house, right? Like the people actually, like, that just had any little plot of lands and stuff. And
Yeah.
how about all those community gardens? I don't know if you have any like community gardens in your area and stuff like that, but
Well, now, right now, with the whole virus, maybe not, but I know what you're saying. In normal times, yeah, for sure. But like I think the home garden for sure is going to get more of a, like all those people that work community garden are probably like, well, maybe I'll put it in my backyard. Your coworker brings cherry tomatoes all the time from the produce section. It seems like thievery. Seems like workplace thievery. Having his friends get him stuff from the front. You've ever seen Fifth Element? Holy moly. Okay. It was right after he puts the people come to get him or something. He puts them in the refrigerator, and then she shows up. And then he puts her in the shower, and then what does somebody else show up? I forget what happens. And then at that point, yeah, I forget. I don't pay attention to the movie that much, but I do remember he got clunked in the head, and it was with something that they had just remarked earlier. His like old boss or something had told him like, "Oh, you got your award or whatever." It wasn't really a participation trophy, I guess, but it was a trophy he did not value. City codes and threats of fines stop people. Well, that's interesting. That's true, but that's the kind of thing they might waive too in times of situations like this or whatever. Dang, breakfast burrito. I remember in the before times, if you would have said something like breakfast burrito at 11:58 p.m., which it is right here right now, I could just go and end the show and go get a breakfast burrito at like any number of places. I don't think I can do that right now. I wonder if the Bedoses are open. The all-night taco shops are open all night.
the drive-throughs probably are.
Yeah. Now here's me though, and this only because I've worked in restaurants and I've happened to have traded. I've done work inside of taco shops before, a lot of times actually. So I don't trust them. And it's obvious, but I definitely don't trust overnight crews at taco shops anymore. So if I have to, I will, but I try not to think about it. But I figure if I can help it, I don't go to all night food if I can help it, because that's usually when the crew is trying to clean and everything, and I just don't like the idea of like somebody who's not really all that up on stuff, not all that talented or multitasking or whatever, trying to multitask with cleaning and cooking at the same time. Now, if it's a super busy place, that doesn't matter at all. Like, doesn't even apply because they're used to doing everything at the same time and they've got crews. But when it's like a skeleton crew, a couple of people in the middle of the night, like Tucson, I won't go to those places in the middle of the night unless I absolutely have to. And then I'll order something like nachos or something where it's not a lot of prep. Hopefully, there's no chicken out getting raw all over everything. I grew a 15 by 25 garden at my old house, and when the veggies start coming, yeah, I had a lot of fun. I went to school for mushrooms, but in order to get to there, you had to take a lot of plant classes first. And I grew up, like I say, with a garden, so it was nothing to just for extra credit. You could do stuff, you could grow crap and get extra credits. So I was like, well, why not, right? So I had a garden for years out here, and then I had my little puppy, and he lived for years with my garden. I had a lot of fun. I was trying companion gardening, I guess you'd call it, like growing things next to each other so that you didn't have to use um, like bug killers and shit. And it's not like that difficult in Arizona. It's not. It's mostly a challenge of keeping things shaded and watered, right? It's just a heat thing here. It's not so much bugs. But anyway, I was having fun just playing around and repurposing, like sort of like who was it? Was it Jim that posted the containers he was building out of reused material? So I would just go garbage pick some wood or something and build them like kind of a raised bed. And I had a lot of fun. And then one year my dog just decided, nah, he shouldn't have a garden anymore. He just like literally dug up everything in my garden one day. And I went to work, came home, everything was dug up. And I was like, I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to be mad at my dog. He's just being a dog. And I just quit growing stuff back then. But I do like gardening. But I've also been traveling, so there's no way I can have a garden. You have to literally be in a garden every day in Arizona. You can't leave it for a couple of days, even unless you got a lot of automated stuff. But doing it on the cheap was you had to be there to water and maintain. Every once in a while,
there isn't anything like there isn't anything that's like down in the soil that you can skip a couple days from watering, like potatoes or something, or.
Oh no, I mean you can definitely try to get like a watering thing set up. It's just that in the heat you really can't. I mean you have to get out there and just fiddle and move shade and stuff, which they get real delicate, especially trying to do stuff like tomatoes and corn and melons and dumb stuff. If I grew stuff that was native to here, it wouldn't be an issue. But I was trying to force a garden down here, so I put that caveat in there. I was growing stuff that that was kind of probably weren't even supposed to be in this region necessarily. Now that I'm thinking about it, like some of the cucumbers and shit I just wanted, I didn't necessarily supposed to grow here. But then I was also going to say one time I had whatever those, I don't know what they are, the big giant fat bugs though, the caterpillars that are really big, like as big as your finger. I forget what they're called, but I don't think they're monarch butterflies, but I think they're those big ass moths from like Silence of the Lambs or whatever. I think it's a giant moth like that. Anyway, I had those come in one time and just devastate. I had some decent tomatoes. Like say, tomatoes are my thing, so I had a lot of different tomatoes. And these effers came in like in an afternoon and just destroyed. Like I was working somewhere at the time, like a go to work type of job, way before I was doing anything on the internet or anything. And went to work, came home, and I think I had noticed that something was going on, and I killed a couple of them, and I was like, dang it. And then I went to work the next day, and everything was gone. It was like they just ate every leaf in like a day. It was horrible. Just like two of them, too. Fuckers. So that's the reason I'm like, if I'm actually gardening, I got to worry about crap like that, or I would be worried about crap like that. Mello wouldn't. She doesn't care. She might, though. I never let her just go out in the backyard and hang out. She's the kind of dog that might dig a hole and sit in it. Sometimes dogs will dig a hole and sit in it. I could see her doing that. She goes into the bed and like digs a hole in the blankets or whatever, if she feels like it. She doesn't do it every time, but I bet you she would go out and dig a hole in some dirt if she felt like it would be cooler or something. Threw some sour gum in a pot by accident. What is sour gum? Is that something you can eat, or is that like a wheat or something? No, I've heard of it. Or is that something you just feed animals? So I haven't just seen her. She doesn't just get to go out in the backyard. I don't have a kind of backyard where I can just let her go. So I do let her go out in my friends' backyards, and I've never seen her dig, though. She'll usually, if she's got the run of the backyard, she'll go out and run around, poop and sniff and do whatever. And then as soon as she gets that out of her system, which isn't that long, she'll just come back and sit next to me. So she's pretty good. Okay. It's like a little gnarly looking thing, right? It's just like almost like a vine or something. It kind of grows on the ground. And is it something that they used for recropping or something? Like you'd grow like soybeans and then sorghum the next year or something like that, or like later in the year, something like that. Ask the old people in your local garden center what grows best, and they'll know better what the packet. Yeah, that's true. Like they'll know better than that little regional map on the packet. That's for sure. Because especially out here, we got elevation differences. So I bet you if you live in the foothills, like a couple 100 feet higher than somebody else who lives down at the bottom of something, then I'll bet you there's a big difference in the overall temperature throughout the year. Definitely shade and everything. We've got something else out here where the seeds, well, the seed, whatever you call them, like the lineages of the original seeds that were used by the natives out here. So way before the Spanish and everything, back when the tribes were just all warring against each other back in the day. And a whole bunch of the tribes would hang out because there was running water here historically. Back in the day, the Tohodum and the Papago and a bunch of the names that are harder to say than that used to live out here in farm, and the Apaches and the others would come along, kick their ass and take their shit and rape them. And so they would build these big like towns out here, not towns, but like places where when the Apaches come, they could hold up and try to defend themselves and shit. But they still have those same lines from then. And that was irrigation. They had running water all year long out here back then, and they would run these canals. They would cut trenches and flood and stuff. So they had water and stuff, but so you can't quite just like let a tomato or whatever they call a tomato out here. You can't just like let that grow. You still have to water it, but it'll certainly last way longer or grow way better than any of the artificial stuff from like Europe or whatever. Oh, it's a little red grain. Interesting. I don't think I've ever seen sorghum then. I've seen amaranth. Amaranth is a little tiny grain. That's one of the ones I got out here that grew out here. That one will grow like a weed, except what you get out of it is like little tiny seeds that are like little pieces of pepper. You have to like cook them into like oatmeal or something. All right, with that, we're 3 hours in. We got 10 people watching. There's plenty of people chatting, but I am getting talked out. And this is sort of not quite my middle of the day, but I do usually try to get at least one other project in before. I had something like a dozen eBay auctions end today without any bids or nothing. So I'm guessing it's not probably worth putting stuff up on the eBay. I don't think people are looking for, casual purchases or something, but I don't know. So I'm going to have to I'm going to end it here, try to figure out how to keep going, doing our thing. But I want to say thanks to Dead Horse for jumping in, and thanks to the people that joined us. Like I said, I've been taking these things and jamming them up onto iTunes. So if I do that with this one and you hear it out there, let us know. Like I said at the beginning of the show, directly, because even though I appreciate you leaving some feedback on iTunes, I am not in some kind of race to be good on iTunes. I really don't care about that. But I'll definitely care if you leave something there that you want me to see and I don't see it. So if you want to contact us directly, get over to the YouTube or the websites and contact us directly. Anything else? Talk Dead Horse to sleep yet?
No, good show. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for jumping in, keeping it going. We have lots of good stuff to talk about. I was digging into some of my 2A projects, but in the process, I started listening to the scanner and I started digging into this volunteer thing over here that I've been looking at. So I think I'm going to post a couple of things from that, and then a couple other ideas came up along the way that I'll be adding to Minuteman University. So I'm thinking on this show, I'll continue to do some shows like this where we just chat, but I'm also going to kind of continue the Minuteman or the 2A Media Workshop kind of element and use the Daily Gun Show as a kind of look over the shoulder as I work on some projects, because there's a couple of projects that I thought instead of just showing or just accomplishing showing how you build a site, I might actually get some collaboration from everybody too on helping me do some research or stuff. So with that, leave me some feedback on what you think, and we'll be back to pick up later.